Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
You got a fast car, I want a ticket to anywhere, maybe we make a deal, maybe together we can get somewhere. As two prototype series, multi-class, take on Monday nights yet again. My name is Joey Tebben, alongside me is DJ Clark. Which one of us is Tracy Chapman? Which one of us is Luke Combs? You can all decide that at home. Behind the scenes, though, what we know is Dustin Allis, incomparable to anybody else. But DJ, we're here. You can see the Ferris wheel in the foreground. We've made it to Japan once again. We're here at Suzuka to kick off the night in the LMP3-GT4 series. And you know that when we come to a track like this, there's the possibility for a little bit of calm. There's a little bit of runoff, but we know it's going to get crazy like every other week.
Yeah, it's going to get insane when these cars make their way back around to one another, Joey. But with the LMP3s and GT4s on an FIA Grade 1 circuit such as this, it's going to spread things out a little bit more. We're going to see a little bit more of class on-class action rather than that inter-class battle that we've seen. But rest assured, the figure eight style here, going to be incredible. This is going to be a great night of racing action.
And we have reached the halfway point in the season. Round 5 for the LMP3-GT4 Challenge. Round 5 for the GTP LMP2 series coming up later tonight. We find ourselves dead in the middle of the season because we have an odd number of rounds this time out. 9 rounds instead of 10 rounds in each PRL season in 2024. So this is truly a halfway point. After this, we go over to Alabama, to the tight and twisty nature of Barber. Going to be similar to Rudskogen earlier in the season, then the Hungaroring, Okayama, and Long Beach. Kind of a tight and twisty theme to end off the season after Suzuka. It's going to be a very, very hectic and very, very frenetic run to the championship in this series. So far, it's been a Jason Drescher kind of season. 2 wins out of 4 races, but other than that, he hasn't been on top. Nicholas Karanges came through to win his first race at Sandown last week, his first race ever in over 3 years of PRL racing. But the name we got to look at is down in 5th place, DJ. Dayton Lowe, winner of round 1, but he hasn't won since then. Or he's got 2 wins since the start of the season, but he's looking to return to victory lane. But he's got to come back from a DNF.
Yeah, he's got to come back from a little bit of disappointment last time out, but nevertheless, Dayton could be in for a good run here. He's looked quick during practice. He's quick during qualifying. I think he is going to be one to maybe be able to bring Jason Drescher back down to reality.
Look at Michael Fowler down in 8th place, by the way. Could this finally be the week that he doesn't spin on lap 1? His championship hopes certainly hope so. Throttle Thursday currently lead the team's championship after winning their first race ever in the PRL last week. We've seen them in GT4, in GT3, in LMP3. So many seasons, so many years in the PRL, and that was their first win with Nicholas Caranges last week. A big moment for the team, and they get the championship lead because of it. Grant's Garage are certainly going to be fighting back. Championship leader Jason Drescher, the lead driver there, with his teammate Ian Starker, and you can never count out Vulture Motorsports. Their absolute assault on this championship. 3 drivers on the South team, 2 drivers on the North team. That's a lot of drivers, and if they can get their first win, we could see Vulture Motorsports still in conversation for that team's championship. Qualifying is currently underway, but GT4 has to come first. Can't forget about them. Justin Ream currently leads. I almost forgot about this, DJ, because it's almost been a foregone conclusion so far this season. Justin Ream has won 4 out of 4 races, and everybody else is just looking for a way to beat him.
Yeah, everybody just trying to close down on him here at this point. Very, very difficult to be able to do. He has absolutely been the dominant force up at the top of this championship. Ted Lowendick could be the closest one to be able to get into him, but he's going to have a monumental effort to close down on Justin.
And Ted's coming off a little bit of a high. Started from pole in the PRL Grand National Series at Chicagoland last week. Scored his 3rd pole in the PRL, so see if he rides that momentum to potentially another pole today. Carter James right behind him has been very strong this season as well, and you look down the list of the top 10, it's been a season that has rewarded consistency so far, and the likes of Adam Ostrich, Sean Romig, Brett Pancari, they've been exceptionally consistent over the course of the first 4 rounds so far. The team's championship is very close in GT4 as well, just as it was in LMP3, because yet again, the championship leader Justin Ream has no teammates. None of his Hydra Race geodesic teammates have followed him into this series, so Turn 1 and Done actually currently lead the team's championship, with Sean Romig in 6th and Gary Gainsel down in 10th. The Miracle Flow Misfits, though, they're doing a similar thing with Ted Lowendick in 2nd and Doug Evans down in 19th. They're sort of evening out at the top of the table, DJ. It's all going to come down to consistency in this team's championship as well.
Yeah, it really and truly is. When we talk about that team's championship, it really and truly is going to be a series of just making sure you keep as many drivers on the track as possible.
And we're going to take you into the dying moments of qualifying here, but before we can do that, we have to thank everybody, as always, who makes all of this possible. Advanced Sim Racing comes first and foremost, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using the Precision 5 coupon code. This coverage is also brought to you by The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with The Butt Kicker. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver and still 2-time Rolex 24 winner Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And last but not least, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. And speaking of going fast, it is looking like the Dayton Low Show yet again. 2 times a winner in 4 races in LMP3, and it's looking like he may just get his 4th pole of the season, currently 7/10 over Daniel Cranifus with 30 seconds left to go in qualifying.
Yeah, and Joey, let's not forget here that this is a 1-minute 53-second lap, bordering on a 2-minute lap here around Suzuka. This is a 3.6-mile circuit. That is a big gap to have. Cranifus going to come down into pit lane. Low almost guaranteed that pole position. Kulaga, though, going to jump up, take it down to 5/10.
Big lap from Eric Kulaga. That's his best qualifying of the season, without a doubt. With 2 seconds left to go, Wildman's not going to make it to the line. LaRue's not going to make it to the line. And that is going to get us the grid for racing today at Suzuka. No real surprises at the head of either grid. For the 4th time in 5 races, Dayton Lowe's going to start on pole in LMP3, but he's got a shock to his outside. Eric Kulaga has had a troubled season so far in his LMP3 debut, but this guy has won in a Ford GT3 car in the PRL. Could he do a shock in the LMP3 today? Daniel Kranifus had a 2nd place finish earlier this season. He starts alongside our defending winner, the newest winner in the PRL, Nicholas Karangis. Jason Drescher, championship leader, a little bit lower than he would have liked. He starts alongside Tabula Rasa's Vincent LaRue on row number 3. Errol Urexoy, good qualifying from him to start alongside Matt Dinsmore. The third of the Throttle Thursday drivers, Greg Doucette, hops off a podium to qualify alongside Steven Martinez. And then it's Precker and Starker down to the end of the top dozen. Unlucky 13th went to the 2nd Kulaga, Michael Kulaga. He starts alongside Nicholas Salaputis. Kwoknin and Michael Fowler on the same row. Could this be the week that Michael Fowler has no trouble on lap 1? We'll finally get to see in a couple of moments. Josh Kimball and Nicholas Collender round out the top 18, but the hits keep on coming because Michael Blaze will start shotgun on the field in LMP3. Sean Mulholland will be sitting on pit lane, engaging in some admin duties. It's no surprise in GT4 as well. Once again, Justin Ream, totally unbeatable in a GT4 car and qualifying his 26th pole in the PRL. But he starts alongside Ted Lowendick, who's actually happy to start in 2nd. Told me before the race that he wants to save a little bit of fuel. Long straight to Suzuka, he could definitely do that behind Justin Ream. Fan favorite Graham Wildman has one of his best qualifying runs of the season alongside Maxime David. Then it's a pair of Mercs on row number 3 with Burke and Cade Smith. Down in 7th is Tim McLeish. Good qualifying from him in P7 alongside Adam Ostrich. Tobin and James make it all purple on row number 5. Brett Punkari promising some fresh new camera angles today. We'll see if we get to see them. So he starts alongside Jean-Sebastien Bédard. The end of the top dozen. Unlucky 13th is John Krauser alongside Sean Romig. Will Jennings wins the Battle of the Jennings. He starts alongside the watermelon car Michael Doyle. Nathan Jennings, 2nd Jennings, alongside the most easily differentiable car in the field, the highlighter yellow of Matthew Zerwick. 19th, though, Doug Evans starts alongside Robert McGeehan. Gainsel, Staroska, First Gorman, Kenny Gorman, and Niall Drake round out the top 24. And last but not least, the 2nd of the 2 Gormans, Dan Gorman. Don't forget that during the race. Dan is in the Mercedes, Kenny is in the Porsche. We're going to figure out some kind of mnemonic for that. But we don't have much time here before we get going. It is a short pace lap. It's a run through the Casio Triangle, and then it's immediately the green flag. For the 4th time in 5 races, Dayton Lowe is going to take the field to the green flag. It has been a rapid season for him in qualifying, but is it going to be his 3rd win? Dayton Lowe takes the green flag, and we're racing in the LMP3 GT4 Challenge. GT4 takes the green flag simultaneously. Ream and Lowendick side by side. Wildman's trying to make it 3 wide to turn 1 at the bottom of your screen, but at the top of your screen, it's LMP3 filing through a few lockups throughout the field. But look at Wildman on the bottom going for the lead in turn 1.
He is absolutely sending that McLaren down to the inside. Ream fights back, but gets a little bit of oversteer. Wildman up into the lead of GT4.
Graham Wildman, what a start. That was some savvy movement, I think, from a driver who knows that when you take the green flag in LMP3, they get the green flag as well in GT4. A very good jump from Wildman. And now can he pull off the defensive drives that he was so good at pulling off last season against Alexis Moisin? He's got a lot of time to hold back, but up front in LMP3 at the top of your screen, pretty straightforward stuff. Lowe keeps first. Daniel Kranifus still in 2nd. Jason Drescher, the best start of anybody in the top 5, up 2 spots up onto the podium.
Yeah, Drescher's going to try to keep that momentum up, but he has got to watch out because Nicholas Karangis is all over that rear wing of the number 29. Dayton Lowe, though, doing a good job at the front of the field. 0.7 of a second the gap right now, but look at this. Ream starting to attack on Wildman, going down through the hairpin.
And this is going to be tough stuff.
Contact in the back of the GT4
that's
field.
Kalen Tobin, I believe, in the Aston Martin going around. The 2nd McLaren of Robert McGeehan is around as well. It was clean stuff throughout the first top 15 almost, but big trouble for Carter James, Robert McGeehan, and Kalen Tobin. Lots of guys from the middle of the field running into bad luck early. Through 130R for the first time in LMP3. Karangis has a little bit of a run, thinks better of it, can't go for the move into the Casio Triangle for the first time on Jason Drescher. But these 2 guys are losing Kranifus and Lowe. They're going to have to sort that out quick as Michael Doyle is the first victim of Spoon Curve.
Yeah, just a little bit too much speed carried in there. Track temperature only 96 degrees Fahrenheit, so I wonder if those tires weren't perfectly up to temperature. But look at this, Ream already back up to the point.
Didn't even take him a full lap. Justin Ream takes the lead as the YouTube chat suddenly simmers down to a low boil. But it might be better to sit in second, actually, to save a little bit of fuel. Here's what happened into the hairpin. That's Carter James very late in the brakes, and probably a little bit too late in the brakes for Kalen Tobin.
Yeah, both of them just kind of carried a little bit too much speed. I'm not sure what Carter was thinking there, if he maybe just missed his braking point or what. But as we check back in on the front of this GT4 field at this point, Ream pulling out a 0.4 of a second gap. Joshua Burke starting to look like he's putting pressure to the back of Wildman, who, despite that incredible start, not looking like he's got the full lap pace to be able to back that up.
And it wasn't a good start for Ted Lowendick either. You saw him on the outside of the front row, P2 in qualifying. Did not get a good start, got swallowed up by Wildman into turn one, got swallowed up by Burke and David as well. The guy who started second on the outside of the front row is now down into fifth, and his strategy coming into this race was save a little bit of fuel behind Justin Ream and maybe jump him in the pit stops. Now he's got a lot more work. He's got 4 more cars he needs to jump.
Yeah, he's got 4 more cars that he needs to jump, and that's going to be very, very difficult for him to do at this point. This is a great racing circuit. It is one of the best in the world, but it is incredibly difficult to overtake around here.
Is he going to go for it into the hairpin? He had an opportunity. I saw a little bit of a peek from that bright banana on the nose of that Mercedes. Nothing doing yet, though, for Ted Lowendick. It was a bad exit out of the hairpin for Graham Wildman. He's now almost out of GT4 draft range. I think you really want to be riding behind somebody, but back here, Matt Dinsmore doesn't want to be riding behind Precker. He goes for the move, as that's Nicholas Carangis spinning through the Casio Triangle.
Oh, last week's winner having a spin there, doing the gentlemanly thing of waiting for the rest of that LMP3 field to work their way on by, but that is going to send him all the way back to 19th in class.
That is heartbreaking stuff. First win in the PRL, and it all comes undone the week directly after. But as I was saying, Ted Lowendick said he wanted to be in second to save a little bit of fuel. I'm sure Graham wants to be in second to save a little bit of fuel as well. The problem is, he was so much, he was about half a second slower in qualifying. Does he actually have the pace to stick with Ream to save that little bit of fuel? We'll see if he can do that. Ted Lowendick can't be thinking about fuel right now. He's just trying to get rid of that big Mercedes. Looked for a way by in the Casio Triangle, couldn't quite do it, and now he's going to try and rely on the straight line speed of that Mercedes.
Yeah, he's going to try to rely on it and get a little bit of the draft off of Maxime David up in front of him. We take a look back up in the LMP3 field here at this point. Corey Precker, Greg Doucette right now in a nice little battle. This is going to be for 8th place.
And these guys are similarly antsy, just like that battle for P5 and GT4. You got to do work if you're in the middle of the LMP3 field here. Things are getting stratified up here in the top 5. Notice that there's a similar thing for Eric Kulaga. Just like Lowendick fell from 2nd to 5th in GT4, Kulaga started on the outside of the front row, did not get a good jump. He's down to P5 as well.
Yeah, he's down to P5, so he's going to want to try to get his way back forward. And the biggest thing around here at Suzuka is just to build that rhythm back up a little bit. This is such a rhythmic track. It's such a track where each corner flows into one another. If you find yourself getting off at one point, you're going to have to really have a problem. Looks like we've had it off, though. I think that's Kimball.
Well, speaking of going off, just as we say that, trouble into Spoon Curve, the bright red car of Josh Kimball. Was it a little bit of a curb moment? No, it was just a little bit of a spin moment, and Michael Fowler has used up all of his luck that he lost in the first 4 rounds of the season to avoid that.
Yeah, he has. Dayton Lowe, I'm going to keep saying Dalton Lowe for whatever reason. Dayton Lowe setting the fastest lap of the race there and pulling out a gap of 1.8 seconds. So he is really getting a good job to be able to pull that away here as he runs. We keep our eyes on the battle right now with Precker and Doucette. Doucette's been able to get by. Precker able to try to put a little more pressure to the back of him, though.
We could get him to change his name, by the way. We could just tell him that if we have a certain sum of money, we could probably get him to change it to Dalton.
The $3 in my bank account will go towards that
could work. I don't know how much.
There we go.
How much is the legal fee to change your name? I don't know. I should research this over the next week, and we could start proposing something.
All right, sounds good to me.
There's another guy whose name we could change. We could change Corey Precker to Corey Pressure right now because he's putting it on Greg Doucette. He's lost him a little bit through the Degners, but you see Doucette off the road through there in the second Degner. that's definitely a driver who's feeling a little bit of the Precker pressure. And now Jennings and Matthew Zerwick, they're going at it. A little bit of rallycross in the exit of the Casio Triangle. And it's side-by-side Mercedes versus Porsche down the front straight, and Porsche versus Porsche into turn 1.
Yeah, that's Brett Puncari and Adam Ostrich right now. Puncari trying to put the pressure to him as we look back there, farther back in the field. It looks like that Krauser's going to be able to hold that out. Jennings has had a problem, though, coming through turn 2.
Yeah, as Will stays ahead of Zerwick, Nathan runs into more trouble in turn 1. He's going to come out directly in front of Duncan Staroska. Almost throws it off the road in the second part of the S as he's still drifting that thing around, trying to get heat out of those tires after spinning. He's turning this into a Formula D course.
Yeah, really and truly is. We're seeing a lot of drivers start to slip and slide here around this circuit, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, Joey, in terms of the rhythm of this track. You've got to be very late on the throttle pedal. It's very easy to pick up a little bit of oversteer coming through these corners, and it is very, very easy to loop this car around, any of them.
Arrow Urexoy and Matt Dinsmore maybe looking for something into turn 1. Dinsmore a little bit too far back that time, but another one of those drivers who's been able to put the pressure on, has been able to stick within that about 0.3 of a second window. And these are two very different drivers here. Arrow Urexoy, a champion of the GT3 Fix Series in the PRL, very successful in the GT3 side. Matt Dinsmore, he's also had success in GT3 in the PRL. Hasn't won a race there yet, though. Hasn't won a race in LMP3. He's building up his confidence, racing with a former champion in the PRL, as this is Carter James trying to make his way through from the back of the field. He went all the way to the back on lap 1, and now it's a comeback race for him as he gets by Kenny Gorman.
Yeah, and that was a pretty gutsy move down to the inside of Spoon. Very easy to carry a little bit too much speed through there, but he did a good job to be able to hold that little bit of tail waggle. Oh, we've got a car around up in front. That's Teddy Lowendick coming down through 130R and into the Casio Triangle.
But how did he only lose one spot? We're going to have to wait and see what actually happened there, because that looked like it could have been an absolutely hellacious crash. Here is it, Ted in the purple Mercedes through 130R on the curb, and did he not hit a single thing? That is a perfect 360 from Ted Lowendick.
Oh, that was beautiful from Teddy. Absolutely fantastic.
Somebody call Rocket League. I don't think we're on iRacing anymore. We got to send that to the majors.
Yeah, most certainly. That's pretty incredible there. But right now, we've got another battle. Brent Puncari coming up behind Jean Bedard. Let's see if he's able to get pressure. But Puncari's got the hardest part in the world here at this point. He's got Sean Romig right behind him, so he's got to have his head on a swivel, looking ahead and behind.
I believe we can actually see Brett Puncari's head. He's told us that he's given us 2 cameras today. It's not just his normal camera, which is usually actually pretty good. He's got an excellent background. We always love seeing what he's got behind him. But he said he was going to connect his phone for a secondary angle. So here's the usual Brett Puncari. Typical viewers of the PRL and longtime fans. You're all very used to seeing that. He's in his VR. He's got his Princess Peach paraphernalia. But we'll see if we actually have his second camera. We could be seeing a different angle of Brett Puncari than we've ever seen before, as he almost gets into the back of Bedard there.
Yeah, that was very, very close, and almost what we saw earlier from Jennings coming up through the hairpin there. Gonna try to get a little bit of the draft here coming up into Spoon. I don't think he's gonna get it, though. One thing I will say is this is all fine and dandy right now as these drivers are getting their way around, but when we get the leader of the pack here catching up to the back of this GT4 field, that's gonna change everything.
And that's coming soon. Lap times in LMP3 about 1:50, and you can see the gap to the last car in GT4 is now actually below 1:50. McGeehan's been passed, Drake has been passed, Dan Gorman has been passed. Race leader Dayton Lowe is dealing with lap traffic for the first time. It's not done in the LMP3 class, though, before they reach lap traffic, because it's side-by-side between Precker and Martinez. You don't want to go side-by-side through Spoon, and Steven Martinez realizes that and backs out of it.
Yeah, he just kind of backs out a little bit, maybe hoping that Precker was going to carry some too much momentum. Good line here for Martinez. He's going to be able to get a nice little bit of the draft, but he's got to watch out. Kwok Nin coming up right behind him. This could be 3 wide coming down here into 130R, trying to keep it together.
What's Kwok going to do? Riding behind these guys, was maybe hoping for a little bit more trouble there, but look at Kwok to the outside of Martinez. Isn't late enough on the brakes as Martinez actually outbrakes Precker into the chicane. A switchback, another switchback, and even more coming down the hill. They might have Arrow Urexoy's company as well. Spun himself out of the chicane, and now he's got a little bit of company with a charging pack coming up.
Yeah, he's got a charging pack coming up. Look at this as now they try to sort themselves out here. Precker going to take a very defensive line. Is that going to compromise him? Dives down to the inside there of the GT4 and gets it done. Heads up there from Corey Precker.
And the Mercedes of Dan Gorman playing a little bit of a starring role in this battle, but this is where you don't want to catch lap traffic through the S's, where in many places it is just single groove. And it is so difficult to find a way by. Urexo, you see him hunting for a way by McGeehan, can't find a way by up the hill, has to check up immensely, and look at all the time he's lost to Corey Precker in just one corner.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. He's absolutely losing out here at this point. Precker is licking his lips, ready to be able to make an attack here at this point, trying to close up behind him right now. Oh, we've got two around down into the hairpin.
That's Jennings and Zerwick. They were close together earlier, and it seems to have come undone into the hairpin. Jennings is going to get going directly in front of Michael Doyle. Zerwick, though, heavily damaged, still hasn't found his way out of the wall, missing the hood of that car. I can't imagine that's going to be a very healthy Porsche, and he's got to wait for basically the entire field to go by. There goes Dan Gorman, and now he's got all the LMP3s to wait for, too.
Yeah, he's just going to have to go there. Zerwick is going to be able to get his way back out. Thankfully, he'll be a little bit relieved at that, but nevertheless, a rough run there for him. Here's a nice little battle. Kranifus and Drescher weaving their way by the red Mercedes.
Yeah, Drescher was up to P2 for a moment, lost it. Now he's trying to find his manifest destiny here later on the brakes into the Casio triangle. Little bit of rubbing, little bit of fenders, but Kranifus is going to hang on at least until they come down the hill. Drescher with the inside steals it back, and now can Kranifus repay the favor in the draft down the front straight. It's going to come down to the straight line speed. This is an open setup series. You can choose your downforce levels. You can also choose your braking zones, and it didn't go well there for either Zerwick or Nathan Jennings.
Yeah, there you saw just a little bit of misconstruing on what that was. By the way, we've got to take her down into pit lane. Looks like Steven Martinez is going to be the first to pull it down into pit lane as we continue to watch this battle for P2 between Drescher and Kranifus.
And fans of Michael Fowler, you're going to be disappointed as well. It's also come undone for him a little bit early. He's down on pit lane. He was saying before this week he wanted to have a clean lap one. He might have to wait until next week, but you know that's coming with all that speed. Kranifus off the road in the final part of the S's. That's going to lose him. That's going to lose him complete touch to Jason Drescher. Luckily for him, his mistake is being repaid as there is a train of about 7 GT4 cars, and Drescher gets into John Krauser.
Yeah, and that looked like a little bit of miscommunication for him coming out of the corner, just not anticipating the speed of that Porsche for the Absolute Racing team, and now he has got to wait for this whole fleet to go on by him.
Ian Starker getting by, Staroska, Carter James, about 5 LMP3 cars. And Michael Doyle gets clipped as well by Nathan Jennings. It has not been a good time for GT4 through the second Degner. Doyle's got to find a way to circle it around as well, but he's waiting for the same field that John Krauser is.
Yeah, he is there. He's going to be able to get his way back around. Going to have to take a little bit of a sojourn over the kitty litter. And there he goes. Got to be a little bit careful because there are some LMP3s coming up behind him. But there we go. Krauser now also back up and on his way.
Oh, he's got to do the J-turn. Couldn't quite get it turned around. And there he goes at long last. Took him a little while, but he does finally get going again. Tune back into Pancari versus Bedard. These guys haven't changed a bit, even with LMP3 traffic coming through. Usually shakes things up, but it's not going to shake up this battle. Battle for P9 now. See what Pancari can do in a straight line as Sean Romig behind them comes down pit lane. He says, if you guys fight, I'm going to try and jump you in the pits.
I think what's actually more interesting to me here out of that than Romig is going to be Ted Lowendick, clearly opting for a little bit of an alternate strategy to come down into pit lane here early on in the running with still about 20 minutes to go.
Gonna replay what happened to John Krauser from the rear end here. The cat-covered rear wing unfortunately became a Jason Drescher-covered rear wing very quickly.
Yeah, and Drescher, I think, as I said, just sort of misconstrued. Didn't really anticipate the slowness of that GT4 coming off the line. Here we watch right now, though, as they work their way up through the S's. Joey, you talked about this a little bit earlier, the place where you do not want to be catching lap traffic.
You do not. Urexo gets by Bedard. You see Kwok Nin coming through in the background as well, trying to get by Bedard, but catches him at the worst possible moment through that first Degner. There's been a little bit more trouble, by the way, at the head of the pack, not just with these guys. Drescher's fallen back behind Kranifus. Burke has fallen back behind David. It's all kicking off in the middle of the field as Will Jennings is a little bit of rally cross with Kalen Tobin ahead of him. They're going to resolve the battle for P10 for just a moment there. But here's what happened to Josh Kimball, actually, in the meantime. Didn't see this with Robert McGeehan, but those are the traffic interactions through the S's that we knew were coming today. And Josh Kimball, yet another victim.
Yeah, and I think that was just a very, very unfortunate situation where he came down, didn't think that there was going to be a driver there in front of him, and absolutely turned down on the front nose of him.
And here's what happened to Joshua Burke. You saw him fall below Maxime David and fall off the podium. This is actually simultaneously what happened to Drescher and Kranifus. Kranifus gets by Drescher as Drescher's being held up by Burke, and there you see Maxime David and the BMW coming through to take third. It's always funny how that works out sometimes, how the battles for position in both classes end up aligning like that. I don't know, there's some kind of physical theorem we could make out of that. But Vincent Leroux has caught these two, and there's a little bit more trouble on pit lane, or a little bit more action on pit lane, as just as Jean-Sebastien Bédard spins it through Spoon Curve, half of his rivals are down pit lane.
Yeah, looks like Wildman, Burke, Pancari all coming down in here at this point. We watch this battle right now, though, between Drescher and Kranifus up at the front of the field. And don't count out Leroux from that mix either. He is certainly going to be involved in this one as well.
And we can't count out Eric Kulaga as well. He may be 2 seconds behind this battle, but if there's any trouble, if there's any contact, suddenly Eric is going to be in conversation for the podium yet again. The race off pit lane, Graham Wildman is going to win that fairly easily over a few others behind him. Here's Matt Dinsmore and Greg Doucette together, 2 teammates for Throttle Thursday, now battling for position for P6. You got Corey Precker and Aero Urexoy behind as well. It may only be the battle for P6, but they're going to battle it just as hotly as anywhere else as Doucette peeks it to the inside of the hairpin. Can't get by his teammate Dinsmore just yet, though.
Yeah, not going to be able to get that move to play quite yet, but by poking his nose to the inside, poking his nose to the outside, he's just putting pressure to the back of Doucette here, trying to see if he's going to be able to get anything to play. I like that strategy. Dinsmore not going offline, though, coming into Spoon, going to run a little bit wider than his teammate.
No team orders at Throttle Thursday. We can only guess. I can't say I'm privy to the goings-on of the Throttle Thursday Discord server, but by the viewing of this battle, I think we can say there's no team orders right now. Doucette in the draft, coming into 130R. He's not going to brave a move into there, but does he brave a move into the Casio Triangle? I think he does. He's going to have to do it the long way around, though.
Oh, timed it well, and there it doesn't look like he's going to get it to fly.
Now, he did back out of it just as I said that, but is that timing it to bring it down pit lane? Looks like the answer is no. They're going to keep that battle going for a little while longer. No team orders, but still maybe a little bit of team smartness going on in that battle. Kranifus held up by John Krauser yet again. I'm sure he just got flashbacks there with Drescher coming by, but that has well and truly brought Vincent Leroux into this battle now. It is a 3-car battle for P2 as Dayton Lowe drives off into the sunset. These guys are going to fight for the win, but for second.
Yeah, Lowe has got to be feeling pretty good here at this point. He is in absolutely stellar position to be able to keep his way forward. He's just got to focus on the road, not make any mistakes, and he could very well have this victory under his belt, notching up 3 on the year.
Riding on board with Vincent Leroux, he's got some big company in front of him. He's got Dayton Lowe in P1, has won 2 times already this season. He's got Jason Drescher directly in front of him, championship leader who's won a race. We've seen Kranifus on the podium as he locks the heck out of it into the hairpin. Vincent Leroux is the only driver in this battle right now who hasn't stood on the podium yet this season.
Yeah, and Leroux's going to want to change that. He is really and truly going to want to make that switch around if he can. I can guarantee you of that. Try to get his way up forward here at this point, just see what he's able to do. I like the play here that we're seeing for these drivers. Not too much aggression, but just controlled aggression as they try to get their way forward. Leroux holding on in behind as they work their way by a little bit of lap traffic.
And Drescher and Michael Doyle come together through 130R. Drescher gets turned around, and he backs it into the wall. Huge damage to the rear end of the Milka LMP3, and that's going to be Jason Drescher's day done. He might get it back to pit lane, but it is going to be in an ailing car. Another interaction with traffic, another GT4 Porsche gets it all undone for Jason Drescher.
Yeah, it certainly does, and that was just, I think, a little bit too aggressive there for Drescher. You trying to get that kind of a move going down into that area of the track. May not have worked out to his advantage. Certainly didn't play out as well as he would have wanted it to here at this point as we take a look at that replay.
And backing it into the wall, that just hurts that much more. Didn't lock it down and ends up suffering because of it. And that's going to make the championship very interesting now. Dayton Lowe, he was a DNF last week after he had probably his race horribilis at Sandown. Now Jason Drescher can count himself in with a DNF as well. That's going to even things out in the Lowe versus Drescher battle. And the drop week comes into consideration after this week. So coming into next week, we're going to know the championship battle until the end of the season.
Yeah, we certainly are. And how is that going to affect everything as we watch Cade Smith coming down into pit lane here at this point? Let's see if he is going to be doing that. Let's take a look back here as we take a little bit of a look at Doug Evans' new camera.
And I imagine he's going to be down pit lane this time, but we can't think about pit strategy right now because I'm staring at a taxidermy deer in the face, DJ. I don't know what else I can do when I'm seeing that. He's going to bring it down pit lane, but I'm going to be thinking about deer for the rest of the night. Think about venison.
I am too. I'm now just very hungry for venison here as we run, but Doug is going to bring the car down on in. 12 minutes, 20 seconds left to go in the race. They continue to try to be able to get their way forward. Still waiting on pit stops here from the top half of that LMP3 field.
And things have well and truly shaken up in the GT4 field. It was not this big before the pit cycle kicked around, but Justin Ream, now with his pit stop done, boasts a 7-second lead over Graham Wildman. It is going to need to be something absolutely calamitous, I think, to prevent him from winning this race. He didn't have a great time on pit lane at Sandown. Actually, there was a mistake in pit lane, added too much fuel, spent too much time, and actually put himself in grave danger. Speaking of grave danger, Tim McLeish and Sean Romig, McLaren, Mercedes, side by side. Romig's going to get through before the Degner, though, and he'll hang on to P9. McLeish is still there, though, the daily sports car sponsored car. He's had his best run so far this season, qualified in the top 10, still running in the top 10. He's going to be hoping to stay there, though. He's now in the last spot, the last part of the top 10.
Yeah, he's going to want to stay where he is here at this point. Not going to want to give anything away. We ride on board with McLeish right now, trying to keep up that pressure to the back of the number 71 machine. Only about 0.5 of a second the gap. That's plenty enough to try to close down in on.
Tim McLeish from Canada, one of many Canadian drivers, as there's huge trouble there. Ian Starker and Gary Gainesville making a new Suzuka through the middle sector. I think they were in the grass for longer than they were on the asphalt there, and somehow I don't think there's a lick of damage on either of those two cars. That was crazy.
No, I want to see a replay of that, as there we see a dive down to the inside there for your leader, some of your leaders there in LMP3. This is Bedard. Sounds like he may have caused this.
Oh! He
went off in front, and then both drivers just trying to fix everything from there behind.
Yeah, Bedard did end up towing, but just not fast enough to for the reaction times of Gainesville and Starker. They both had to take to the grass, but incredible saves from both of them. Got to give them full credit there. Put them in the save catalog in the save compilation for the end of the season. We'll ride on board with Ian Starker here as he comes up over the top of the hill. Gainesville's checking up for the smoke, and Starker's checking up as well, ending up in the grass.
Yeah, and I mean, there's really nothing you can do there at that point. You're just kind of holding on to the car for dear life and praying that it doesn't go away from you as they run. Here we've got Kwok Min. It looks like with Salaputis spun around in the back, as it looks like they have hit the limit here for your LMP3 field.
Yeah, not a great time to spin as the pit cycle's kicked off. Everybody in LMP3 down pit lane this time. Salaputis is going to be waiting about 30 seconds longer than anybody as he hops over the curb, elevates the floor of that car into the air. And unfortunately, physics tell us that when your tires are all above the ground, you can't really use them to steer the car. That's always bad luck. Lowe wins the race off pit lane, though. Craniff is second. Vincent LaRue is up onto the podium now with Jason Drescher's trouble, and this is going to be the really hot battle now. Last spot in the top 5, Doucette, Dinsmore, Precker, Urexoy, and Martinez, and Kwok Nin. That's a 6-car battle. That is 5th through 10th, all battling for position.
Yeah, this just got absolutely incredible, courtesy of that pit stop cycle that we just saw. And oh, there you saw a little bit of a checkup from behind. That was your Rexoy thinking about trying to send a move there on Corey Precker and not going for it. Thank goodness, that could have ended in massive disaster.
Getting through the Porsche of Kenny Gorman. I think I'm doing pretty well on that, DJ, now. Dan Mercedes, Porsche Kenny. There's nothing you can do there to make any kind of mnemonic, but I think I'm finally starting to remember.
All right, there you go. You've got one over me, my friend.
And now it gets even harder, though, because you've got Nathan Jennings in the black Mercedes right there, and Will Jennings is in the red Mercedes. Nathan black, Will red. I don't know. That one's even harder.
You got me on that. I'm going to have to rely on my little cheat sheets that I've got here, and that's how I'm going to know it. Yeah, exactly.
We absolutely need that, especially when there's so many yellow and red, or yellow and black and white cars. So you've got Corey Precker in the yellow and black and white. You've got Urexoy behind him, and you've got Kwok Nin as well and Vincent LaRue, and they're frequently battling with each other. It always gets rather confusing. This one's easy though, because we've got Joshua Burke, who, to give him a little bit of slam, he's got the same exact livery as his teammate Carter James, but he's the only driver from that team in consideration for the podium right now, so that makes things pretty easy. And he's got a train behind him: Cade Smith, David, and Ted Lowendick. But there was some trouble for Ted Lowendick's teammate Gary Gainesville, we're hearing, with the Throttle Thursday LMP3s behind him. Oh dear.
Yeah. Whoa! I want to take a look on board that LMP3. That was all kinds of hairy there. Kwok Nin, I think he may have picked up a little bit of damage on the left rear of that car, but that was an impressive hold.
And Greg Doucette's down pit lane after that. He's run into he's either run into some incident limit trouble or he's run into some big damage trouble. Absolute calamity there in the middle of that pack. That allows Aero Urexoy up into P6. But here's on board with Kwok Nin. He sees the absolute calamity in front of him, does run into the bumper, does run into the wall, but he's still out on track right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's still able to hold on to it, so there are far worse things that he could have happened. This is a little bit later on. Kwok Nin just carrying too much speed, getting a little bit too much curb, and going around in turn one.
Do you think that was potentially the little Armco tap that caused that? Could that be a little bit of broken suspension that he didn't get away with?
I don't know if that's broken suspension or if that's maybe just a little bit of aerodynamic disturbance. That's a pretty high-speed corner here in these LMP3s, so it could be either, frankly.
But this battle still rages on. Burke, I believe, running for his first podium of the season. I don't believe he's been in the top three all season long. Daniel Kranifus is off through Spoon Curve. He was ahead. He got back ahead of Vincent LaRue, lost that position, got it back, and now he's lost it again down to third.
Oh, it all keeps coming apart here for him as it keeps going on through. I think this is just going to be another situation, a little bit of lap traffic in front of him, gets onto that AstroTurf and carries a little bit too much speed through the second part of Spoon.
And it's such a shame, that beautiful new Rust Racing livery with the highlights on the body panels and the gradients. That is a beautiful looking vehicle. This is not a beautiful looking vehicle for Aero Urexoy. He's literally got a black hole at the head of that car. I don't think that's very aerodynamic.
No, I don't think it is either. He has lost that front clip there at that point, and he has clearly had some pretty hefty damage. Let's take a look at exactly what happened. Oh, just got into the back there, and boom, into the side there of Corey Precker.
That was such a good battle before that. They were so close, whole race long, 30 minutes, perfectly clean, and it all comes undone for them. Urexoy has to bring it down pit lane. Hopefully they've got a couple of spares down at the Ligier camp. But a little bit of rallying for Joshua Burke coming through the second. Degner and Tate Smith too late in the brakes. Somehow doesn't get into the back of Burke, but you could not have made that any closer.
No, you couldn't have. You heard my little noise of exasperation there. That was a stack up there with about 3 cars. This little battle here starting to play itself out, though spreading apart here, unfortunately. That was Carangis and Steven Martinez.
Oh, and I think that's Matthew Zerwick in the background of your screen, just having a little bit of a day of his own out there in the gravel. It has not been the best day for Matthew Zerwick, unfortunately. But, and it's not been the best day for Ted Lowendick either. He hasn't actually lost a position with this little spin and Spoon Curve, but he has lost touch with that battle for third. Here's what happened to the Banana Mobile. I think that may have been a little bit of help from the curb.
Yep, just a little bit too much over onto that curb, a little bit too much over onto that AstroTurf, and that caught him around. Corey Precker, by the way, after that incident that we saw, is down into pit lane. We watched the battle for P3, though, in the GT4 category with 4 minutes on the clock.
And we can't count out these guys catching Graham Wildman. Graham's only a second ahead, and Joshua Burke, even with all the pressure behind him, has actually been faster than Wildman for the last couple of laps. We do have to worry about fuel, though. Justin Ream, 16 seconds in the box. Wildman, 18 seconds in the box. Burke and Smith only 14.5 seconds in the box. Do they have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race and stay with that battle for third? Michael Fowler has had even more trouble, unfortunately for him. It's not been the hottest season so far for him, even though he's had a ton of raw pace. I think we're going to see big things from him later in the season. Wasn't quite big things through Spoon Curve, though.
Nope, just carried a little bit too much speed, and that was enough to loop the car around. But once again, seeing some good sportsmanship out of these drivers, waiting for everybody to turn their way around and waiting to get back onto the track.
But not many DNFs, actually. Even with all these spins, this has been a big day for the carousel of entertainment and for the replay reels, but these have all been spins into the runoff. That was almost a little bit more trouble with Ostrich driving it on track in front of Tim McLeish. But the runoff areas of Suzuka have been forgiving. That's not forgiving, as once again, Cade Smith outbrakes himself into the hairpin and takes Joshua Burke with him.
Oh, Burke going around now at this point. Is everybody having those problems coming out to bear? And that's going to separate our big battle up in the GT4 category.
And that's going to get Maxime David up onto the podium in that BMW. Ted Lowendick up into fourth as well. He might not be out of the conversation for the podium if anything else goes wrong. Eric Kulaga is going to get around Joshua Burke. And now we wonder how much damage is there to the front end of that Mercedes of Cade Smith. Let's ride on board with the rear end of Burke and see just how big of an impact it was.
It actually doesn't look like it was all that big of an impact, so he may have been able to get away with keeping that together at the moment. Smith, though, going to have to fight here with Ted Lowendick. They've got a little bit of LMP3 traffic coming up the room right now, though.
And things might get a little bit dicey. Dayton Lowe just crossed the line with about 1:57 on the clock. Laps around Suzuka and LMP3 are about 1:53. It's going to be close to whether we get the white flag or the checkered flag, and I hope you've got enough fuel. Brett Punkari's wasting some extra fuel. When you spin and have to turn it around, that's a critical extra couple of gallons or tenth of a gallon that you're going to be spending, and he's going to be waiting for a while, waiting to get that thing turned around.
Yep, there he's going to go. Careful not to get back across the track here at this point, but he is going to be heads up about that. Oh, that's a strange incident. Caught the curb there coming up and over, and it almost looked like the rear tires just kind of spun up on him as he came over the curves.
Yeah, that rut out of 130R is just so scary. You're going so fast, you're still turning, but when you drop a tire in that little seam, you basically have the edge of the tire on flat ground. Inside the edge of the tire is the edge of the curb, and it just instantly spins you around. It's almost like in the old F1 games where you would have a keyboard glitch that would spin you around, except it's actually real with physics. There's Brett Punkari throwing it off the road in front of this battle, as Michael Fowler's gone a recovery drive trying to get by his teammate Aero Urexoy, and does.
Well, and Urexoy, remember, with that pretty heavy front clip damage, so I think that was probably a little bit of a coordinated attack. We check back in, though. We got a little bit of a battle here as they work their way on through. That's the number 96 machine. That's Adam Ostrich and Tim McLeish. This is the battle for 8th place.
How about that? In a field where you can choose between 999 unique numbers, we've got the 95 chasing the 96, and that's, by the way, big trouble up at the head of the field. Daniel Kranifus has spun out a second. He's off the podium. Kulaga's up onto the podium, and that's a missing front clip on Kranifus. I don't think it came from him, though. Did it come from LaRue?
He spun it around. There it is. He tries to get back. Oh. Yes, it is. That's from LaRue. That's from your second place driver. Kulaga has now been able to close down within 0.6 of a second.
And that's going to be Eric Kulaga up to second. At the head of the field, Dayton Lowe's not worrying about any of this. He's just taking the white flag. There's Vincent LaRue off the road in the Casio Triangle. He's running into even more trouble, and he's going to have to bring it down pit lane. Absolute heartbreak for Vincent LaRue. His best race ever in the PRL is going to end in tears on pit lane, but we'll see him back, I think, with some big momentum next week. Dayton Lowe, by the way, we haven't said his name once all day because he's just been doing Dayton Lowe things. He hasn't made a single mistake. He's had no trouble with traffic, and with half a lap to go, DJ, he boasts an unsurmountable 30-second lead over second place.
Don't jinx it here at this point as he locks up the brakes there coming down into the hairpin. Let's not give this man any reason to doubt his ability to get his way forward, but my goodness gracious, he has certainly been running a great race up to this point.
Luckily for him, I don't see any traffic directly in front through Spoon Curve for the final time. Certainly playing with fire over those curbs, but I think he's gonna be safe, assuming nothing absolutely catastrophic happens. It's been an incredible season for Dayton Lowe so far. It's been up and down. He's got 2 wins in the first 3 races. In the 4th race, it all went wrong. Had a DNF, got a few, didn't get a penalty, but didn't have the best day at all. He's going to get to drop that DNF week, though. His championship rival, Jason Drescher, he had a DNF this week. He's going to drop that as well. So in the final 4 races of the season, we're going to have a championship battle, and it's going to be headed by Dayton Lowe, who crosses the line to win for the 3rd time in the PRL, and most likely is going to take the championship lead once drop weeks come into consideration. Big day for him. Look a little bit further back, actually. Before you even get to 2nd place Eric Kulaga, I think leaders in GT4 are going to cross the line first, as Justin Ream has been similarly dominant. We haven't said his name at all today either, and he's just going to do Justin Ream things as well. This is going to be his 22nd win in the PRL, if I'm not mistaken. 21st win, actually. He's been tied with Vincent Trepanier, who's been winning in the GT3 Sprint Series this season. They're both making big numbers. They're both looking up the table. And now, as Justin Ream crosses the line, he is going to be tied for 8th all-time in the PRL with Greg Seitz and Vincent Trepanier. 21 wins for Justin Ream.
Absolutely remarkable drive here for Justin as he once again puts down a dominant performance. And let's give some credit here to Graham Wildman. Remember, great start there for him. He was able to work his way up through the field, get himself into good position. This was a good drive for the Wildman.
Now we got to think, what can he do to beat Justin Ream? He's only got 4 more races to do it. What can Ted Lowendick do? What can David do? There's going to be so many questions to the end of the season. Can anybody beat Ream? Oh, he almost takes Ted Lowendick with him with the donuts. But this could be a perfect season for Justin Ream. It's been done once before. Sean Campbell, in his PRL debut season, won 10 out of 10 races in GT4. Could Justin Ream potentially do that as well, winning 9 out of 9? I mean, it's certainly looking good so far.
He's putting down a good marker here at this point. With the volatility we've seen up and down through this field, I'm not going to have him count those chickens quite yet. Still have a couple of drivers to cross over the finish line here at this point. Looks like Staroska and Evans and Jennings. Also Brent Pancari going to be crossing over right now.
Still an accomplishment to finish the race. All these guys you see have run into assorted amounts of trouble today. Zerwick has had a few incidents, but he's still going to cross the line. And Josh Kimball and Will Jennings, a little bit of red camaraderie back there as the GT4 pushes the LMP across the line. That's some good stuff there. But that is the end of LMP3-GT4 action, and we get to see the big number there. 33 seconds of the line separated Dayton Lowe with his 3rd PRL win to Eric Kulaga, who finished 2nd, started 2nd, fell down in the race, but didn't make any mistakes, did Eric Kulaga things, was consistent, and finished in P2. Daniel Kranifus still gets P3 for his efforts, but it was closer than he would have liked. Matt Dinsmore only a 2.5 seconds behind the line. He was almost looking to pick up that 3rd place before the line came. Last week's winner, Nicholas Caranges, he's going to be thinking what might have been if not for a little bit of early trouble. And then Starker, Martinez, Doucette, Michael Kulaga, and Aero Urexoy round out the top 10. Michael Fowler, Nicholas Collender, Kwoknin, and Josh Kimball were the last drivers on the lead lap. Vincent LaRue was in the running for his first podium. It all went wrong, but can he do it next week? He's certainly shown the speed that he's able to fight for podiums now. He finishes a lap down with Nicholas Salaputis. Corey Precker and Jason Drescher both ran into assorted amounts of trouble, and they make up the entirety of the used car lot, along with Michael Blaze, who we didn't see much of, ended up in trouble very early. But in GT4, 21 wins now for Justin Ream. That number just continues to grow and grow and grow. With only 4 races to go in the season, he could have a half century or a quarter century of wins. It could very well happen. Graham Wildman is hoping that doesn't happen, though. Maxime David as well, and that BMW, a solid 3rd for him. Could have even been a fight for the win if Justin Ream just wasn't there. Ted Lowendick, he's also going to be thinking what might have been if he didn't lose those 3 spots on lap 1. Could he have stuck with Ream? He's got to think about that until next week. He finishes ahead of Cade Smith, who got into the back of Joshua Burke. Then Romig, Ostrich, Tim McLeish, and Kalen Tobin rounded out the top 10. Carter James, Pancari, Staroska, Evans, and Jennings rounded out the lead lap finishers. And then Niall Drake, Kenny Gorman, John Krauser, Robert McGeehan, and Dan Gorman all ran into some little bits of trouble, ended up 1 lap down. Nathan Jennings was 2 laps down along with Matthew Zerwick. And then the used car lot, Gary Gainesville, Jean-Sebastien Bédard, and Michael Doyle all ran into heavy amounts of trouble. and didn't make it all 19 laps of the race. But we've got a full house of drivers ready to talk to. And yet again, the first driver we get to talk to is the guy who's returning to victory lane, Dayton Lowe. After Sandown was a little bit bumpy, you've certainly come back in the best way possible. Your biggest win ever, 30 seconds over the rest of the field to the line.
Man, I needed that one after Sandown. I've actually put practice this week. I actually put practice down, unprecedented, but it feels good to finally be at the top step.
So now you've had that drop week at Sandown. Your championship rival Drescher had a bad day today. He's going to have this as his drop week most likely. In the final 4 rounds, you guys are going to be batting even. How interesting is that going to be, fighting for the championship with Drescher on even ground?
This champion, I don't know if I can get this championship because I cannot make the final round no matter what. So I have to use that as my drop round. So I think it's going to take an insane amount of luck for me to actually get the championship, but I'm just going for wins now and just see where this takes me.
Well, at least for now, I don't have any statistics on this, but I cannot remember the last time we had a 30-plus second winning margin on a road course in the PRL, so hang your hat on that, and we'll see you at Barber next week.
Thank you very much.
Dayton Lowe victorious in GT4. But it's basically a routine at this point. We should just have a soundboard doing these interviews, because next up, it's Justin Ream, once again talking to his new best buddy this season, DJ Clark.
Justin, good to talk to you again, my friend. I want to start at the beginning there. Talk me through what happened at the start, because it looked like Graham Wildman just got a little bit of a jump on you.
Yeah, I kind of fell asleep at the line. Didn't really know when the green flag was going to drop, and I didn't really want to leave too much of a gap leave a big gap to the LMP3 class up front, so that some of the GT4s could at least start before the final chicane. But yeah, he got a good run, and McLaren's got a good acceleration.
Well, from there on out, and in that first lap in particular, and trying to come back, was it just a matter of sticking to the game plan and pushing yourself ahead and knowing that you had the outright pace?
Pretty much, yeah. I was trying to put him in a position that he would be uncomfortable with, I guess, and that's kind of when it came up to 130R. I noticed that he didn't really move over to defend the inside, so I decided to take it and figured that he would back out of it.
Well, back out of it he did. Justin, 21 wins for you on the season. That's going to be 8th all-time. Absolute congratulations in order for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good. A lot of fun.
All right, good indeed, and we loved having you. Justin Ream, your first place finisher in the GT4 category.
Let's go back up to LMP3 here, because we've got a guy who might just be as happy as a winner. Eric Kulaga, talk about an up and down day, qualified in the front row for the first time in LMP3, and after whatever happened to the rest of the LMP3 field, you're back to second. How about that?
I told my team, I said, I'm going to be about 7th by turn 3. Everybody's just going to dive past me 3 wide. I got pushed out. But I hung with them all day. So it was just kind of managing traffic, because, that's the key in these things, just managing traffic and staying with them. And they hit each other, and I took advantage.
So how's the transition been this season? Because you've been a GT3 guy for so long, a little bit of NASCAR trucks as well. How's the LMP3 car been treating you so far?
I was lost all week until today. So I was like 2 seconds off Steve and Mike yesterday. I was in the 56s, and then all of a sudden today I just put it together, luckily, and I pulled that quali lap out of somewhere, and I just hung in there all day. Once you can get in front and stay with them, it's a whole different race.
Well, there you go. Congrats, Eric. First podium in an LMP3 car, and we'll see you next week. See if you can do it again.
Thanks, guys.
Eric Kulaga coming home with P2. Will it be his first win in LMP3 before the end of the season? You never know with those exponential gains. Let's finish off the LMP3 podium before we go back down to GT4, and that means Daniel Kranifus hangs on to 3rd, and he gets to talk to DJ.
Daniel, a great result here for you and the Rust Racing team, holding on to 3rd place. Talk me through what kind of seemed like it was a little bit of a crazy race out there.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The craziest P3 finish I think I've ever had. Yeah, congrats to Dayton for, he was just gone. I tried to hang with him at the beginning, but I realized about 4 or 5 laps in I didn't have his pace. So I was content to let him go and then just see what happens when we catch the GT4 traffic. And oh boy, we had a lot happen there. It was exciting.
It was exciting indeed. But what does this portend for the rest of the season? Can this carry on some momentum here, especially as we look ahead into going back to some of the twisty circuits like headed out to Barber next time out?
I actually love Barber. I've done some motorcycle track days, so I'm very familiar with that track. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Sandown, I think, was not a good week for me. I had an incident, and also I just didn't have the pace. But this weekend felt really good. I felt like this confirmed that I'm sort of top 3, top 4 pace. I think I had P2 pace today, but my own mistake cost me today. No one else to blame there. I was just trying to be sneaky, going around the outside of lap traffic, sacrificing a 1X, and I spun myself out.
Well, you spun yourself out, but you recovered well. My friend, congratulations on a great result here today.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Shout out to my buddies, Mario and Josh, Greg and Brad, and my dad, Michael, for watching. They love watching you guys broadcast. Appreciate it.
Well, we love broadcasting it, Daniel. And that was Daniel Krenifus, your third-place driver in the LMP3 field, Joey.
And now we got to make the fans happy because second place in GT4, he was back on the podium. Graham Wildman, welcome back. The chat's going to go wild, but apparently I have to call you Ham Wildman from now on because your grandma's going to be cooking up your favorite ham bones now.
Oh man, you know, this lady, I don't know who she is, but she broke into my house and she won't leave.
Good. We know you love chewing on the ham bones, so we're going to let you get to that quickly, but you were almost chewing on Justin Ream there at the start of the race. Somehow outsmarted the rest of the field, jumped everybody into turn 1. Talk us through what happened at the start.
Yeah, I had a good draft coming out of the chicane there, coming down the start-finish straight, and I just decided to lick that stamp and send it. I think Ted got the short end of that stick. I'll have to go back and watch it. But yeah, I held on for most of a lap. I wasn't going to fight Justin. I knew he was faster than me, so it was just nice to be out in the front for a little bit.
You think you can beat Justin before the end of the season?
I don't know. I think he's driving a GT3 car secretly. He's just consistently, 0.3 to half a second a lap faster than me. At this point, I'm kind of out of options. It's just going to keep grinding and hope I can close that gap a little bit.
Well, we'll see what happens. Until then, congrats on P2, Graham, or should I call you Ham, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, fellas. See ya.
Graham Wildman coming home with P2. And before we can get you into LMP2 and GTP qualifying, we've got one more driver, a fan favorite in his own right, Mr. Ted Lowendick, last but not least.
Ted, a crazy race there for you, my friend, for the Miracle Flow Misfits team. How was it behind the scenes?
Terrifying. Yeah, the 360, I don't know how I didn't hit anything. I soiled myself on that one. Yeah, that start was insane. Yeah, let's not think about this race anymore. Although I'm gonna save the 360 because that's worth watching again.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I was going to ask you about that, so you beat me to it. But quickly, as we look ahead to Barber, kind of going back to this series' bread and butter, as it were, in the form of those short, twisty tracks, how do you think the Mercedes is going to handle around there?
Well, are we actually going to Barber? Because the official iRacing schedule has us going to Mugello. I'm pretty sure I'm screwing that up, but we'll have to see. I like Barber. I'd prefer to, go there, but we'll have to see next week. I know we follow the official iRacing schedule and it changed. I think after the schedule got posted, so hopefully I'm wrong, and we go to Barber. But if not, we're going to a track I don't even own yet, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, one way or the other, I can tell you, I just called a race from Mugello, and it's pretty fantastic. So we'll hopefully have to see that play out. But, Ted, congratulations on a good run here today. We'll see you next week, my friend.
Thanks, guys. It's always an adventure. See you next week.
Before we let you go, Ted, was the banana suit yellow before or after your spin?
Well, I didn't wear it tonight, so maybe I need to wear it. I don't know if it's lucky or not.
Well, at least we know it was yellow before then. Ted Lowendick coming home with P3, another podium for him. We'll let him go back to his teammates because it's time, DJ, for the second half of the night. Barber Motorsports Park is coming up in LMP3 and GT4 next week. Keyword maybe, but I think definitely. I think they would have changed the schedule by now if we weren't going to Barber. We will go to Mugello in the GT3 series on Tuesday nights coming up later in the season. But for now, we're going to Barber in this series, and we're going to Sebring in the second prototype series of the night, the GTP LMP2 series. Up the stakes, up the power, up the speeds, and even up the strength of field as we take the highest level of prototype racing in the world around sort of a playground for prototype racing at Sebring.
Yeah, indeed. Hashtag respect the bumps. That's what you got to talk about when you are here. This is a physical, demanding racetrack. It is flat as a washboard, but I will tell you what, it is going to catch you out every single chance it gets. So you've got to be on your best behavior coming around here because this place will try to bite you.
The first half of the season is behind us. That big track, number 4, we put a red circle around that at the start of the season, but all your fears can be over because that's out of the way, Daytona's out of the way, Watkins Glen is out of the way, and Long Beach is out of the way. Now we focus on the second half, the championship run. After Sebring, we go to Spa, we go to Aragon, we go to Montreal, and we go to Silverstone. Once we leave Sebring, it is all Grade 1 tracks to the end of the season. Think about off tracks, think about overtaking, and definitely think about a little bit of craziness to the end of the season. We'll see what happens when the championship comes to an end in 1 month's time. It's very likely going to be Pat Pelshaw in conversation for that. We can't book him into the championship just yet. He's still got to fight for that with 5 more rounds to go, but he has won nearly every round of this season. He's only been beaten 1 time by Daniel Harris in round 1. His teammate Michael Diaz is only 15 points behind him, though.
Yeah, only 15 points behind him. Pelshaw just needs to have one bad day, and this could all go to naught for him. So we've got to keep our eyes on this changing around here. Just like we said, one bad day could change everything. But look at that battle for third place. Palacio, Menino, Evans, Hebert, all of them within touching distance up in front.
And I do actually have to correct the schedule really quick. In this series, in the GTP LMP2 series, it has been confirmed that we are going to Mugello next week in this series. We're not going to Spa. We're going to Mugello next week. So look forward to that. That'll be your first taste of Mugello in the PRL in the GTP LMP2 series. But in the GTP team standings in the meantime, are we really surprised to see Precision Racing Esports at the top of the standings? Pelshaw has won 3 out of 4 races. Diaz has been right behind him in basically every single one of those. And Boris Ovondo's been around as well, keeping him company. They did have a 1-2-3 earlier this season. SRT is looking for their way forward, looking for maybe Palacio in third, or Dave Menino, or somebody, J.R. Williams, to get a win, to put themselves in conversation, because it has been PRE 1-2-3 all the time this season. What a back. They're going to have a diminished lineup today with a few drivers missing out, and Fiercely Forward down in 5th. Got to think about what might have been for them as well, with Daniel Harris running into trouble in some earlier rounds, with Aiden Young also having a DNF in round 1. Hasn't quite gone their way, but they're still looking for wins before the season is up. In LMP2, the driver standings look pretty similar to last season. Jack Hedgecox leads the driver standings, defending champion, but it is very close for him as well. Joshua Chinsky only 10 points back, and Hedgecox did have a bad race at Watkins Glen. That's most likely going to be his drop week. He is definitely in a little bit of danger. Luke Wallace not too far behind as well. Matthew Carroll has been very, very consistent. He could be in the conversation as well. Caleb Lehman, too, if he gets a drop week. And Daniel Zeggers, who won 2 races. He's had to take his drop week as well. We'll see that come into consideration after this week. Then the calculations will be a little bit more legitimate, and we'll likely see Daniel Zeggers in conversation for the championship. Go in Racing Ruby, they've pulled a 55-point gap in the team standings over the Precision Racing Academy. That's still going to be close over the course of the season as well. Rushing through that, though, because qualifying is currently underway, we do want to take you through about the last 2 minutes of qualifying, because it's always fun to watch qualifying laps here at Sebring, seeing these drivers at 100% pace, throwing it over the bumps and fighting for every last tenth. Here's the number 50 of the SRT LMP2 of Blake Ziti. We'll see what he can do as he brings it across the line in a couple of moments.
All right, Ziti trying to be able to get a little bit more here at this point, coming down through Sunset. So much commitment required through this final corner. He's going to take a wide entry on in, and there you see him missing what you would think would be the opportune line down to the inside, almost brushing that wall. But the bumps there on the circuit mean that you got to kind of avoid that there if you want to keep things together. But that is going to be Ziti coming across the line. He will stay in 5th in category.
Pat Pelshaw currently P1. He's most likely going to stay there as he crosses the line. Is he going to improve on this lap at all? He actually isn't, but he will get maybe one more lap. It's going to be a race against the clock with 1 minute 42 is his best time. I'm not sure if he's actually going to make it to the line in time. Michael Diaz will. He's only got another minute and 20 or so to finish. He could be in the conversation for pole here as his teammate Boris Ovando puts it up to 3rd. It's a PRE 1-2-3. Ryan O'Connor, the Precision Racing Academy driver, in 4th. It's 1-2-3-4 for this team. Let's see if Michael Diaz can top it.
All right, let's see if he can indeed. Like you said, only about 0.3 of a second for him to make up to try to be able to close his way on through as he comes by. The Sebring 7 Hotel there in the background as he tries to make his way down through the curves. Right now, so much commitment taken through this. Little bit of a twitch of oversteer as he dives on the binders here into Cunningham. Right on the apex there, carrying good speed out of the corner.
Nicholas Goen up to pole in LMP2, a big lap for him. Over the two main championship contenders, over the two drivers who have won races this season, the three drivers who have won races this season with Joshua Chinsky. They've all been shown up by Nicholas Goen here at Sebring. We'll see if he can keep that going in the race. But Michael Diaz through the final corner onto Sunset. What can he do with only a couple seconds left in this lap? I don't know if it's necessarily tracking to be pole position worthy, but he's only got one more corner to go into Sunset Bend for the final time. Can he dump his teammate Pat Pelshaw off pole position out of the final corner, keeping it out of the wall? It's a race against the clock and a race to the line. Michael Diaz improves, but not enough to take pole. He's going to be starting second behind his teammate.
He'll be starting second behind his teammate here. Not exactly what he would want to have happen, but still close enough to keep things together as the clock hits 0, and we're ready to go racing.
Indeed we are, and if you wanted to see something change at the top of the GTP standings, well, it didn't happen just yet in qualifying. Pat Pelshaw on pole yet again. That is only his third pole ever in a prototype, though. His third pole of the season, though, in 5 races. That is a much more stout statistic. His teammate Michael Diaz starts alongside him, and then it's Precision Racing Esports continuing on row number 2, Boris Ovando and Ryan O'Connor. Then it's all fiercely forward on row 3, Daniel Harris and Aiden Young. You can't even count Daniel Harris out for the championship just yet. He certainly needs to do some work to get his season back on track, though, after missing the Nordschleife last week. Dave Menino and J.R. Williams in a pair of Acuras start on row number 4, and Bradley Holly, another good qualifying from him in the top 10, starts alongside Nicholas Schwartz, setting identical lap times were both of the Whataback drivers. And then Nathan Bartley and Zach Hebert, they've both shown lots of speed this season. They'll be starting from the end of the top dozen. And unlucky 13th went to Eric Palacio alongside Stephen Verity. Skalny, Roy, Ray, and Reeves, say that 9 times fast, round out the top 18. But the hits keep on coming. It is a big field in GTP. Adam McDonald, Calvin Myatt, and Grigor Georgiev, the last drivers to set qualifying laps. We will not see Jeff Evans as he's been forced into airport duty. He's not going to be able to race. And Mark Kalin is a maybe. I do see him on the grid. Didn't get a qualifying lap in, but I believe we will see Mark Kalin race. So that means 22 cars in GTP will take the green. In LMP2, Nicholas Goen is actually the lead Goen Racing Ruby driver. He's going to start on pole and look for his first win in the PRL. He's got Daniel Zeggers right next to him. He's won 2 of the things this season, and he's got Jack Hedgecox behind him, who is the defending champion of this class. Blake Ziti, Caleb Lehman, and Joshua Chinsky make up half of the top 6, all SRT black. Could be a big day for that team. Wallace and Arvello, Carol and Sorrentino round out the top 10. Then the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air rounds out row number 6 with Eugene Maltsev, the third of the Goen Racing Ruby drivers. Unlucky 13th this time out went to Chip Michaels. He starts alongside Andrew Wood. And then it's Nathan Mon and Karsten Quint behind them. John Leedy starts alongside the first of the Chandlers. It's Ryan Chandler this week in the number 75. Matthew Falk, P19, and Edward Vardanessian round out the 20 LMP2 cars in the field. No Reagan Chandler this week, so you've only got one Chandler, and I don't see Ed Vardanessian on the field or on the grid just yet, but I do think we'll see him. So do the math any way you like. 22 cars in GTP, 20 cars in LMP2. That's going to be north of 40 cars in this field, DJ. Taken to about a 100-second lap here at Sebring.
Yeah, but the 3.74 mile circuit is going to help them out a little bit in terms of avoiding that traffic. And we've frankly been seeing multi-class cars running around Sebring for years upon years. So it's not altogether going to be terrible that we're going to be seeing these drivers getting their way around here. This is a relatively easy track to be able to make overtakes on. There are multiple corners that you are able to get overtakes done on. But altogether, this is going to be good racing. I love this track, Joey. It is absolutely fantastic. Every sector has something to be looking for. It is great.
So what should Pat Pelshaw's teammates be looking for? They haven't won this season. Pat's been taking all the glory, but we know Michael Diaz is fast. He's won many times in the PRL. So has Boris Ovando. What can they do to finally beat their teammate and take some of that glory away?
Well, I think here at this point, what they've got to do is just try to pressure. I mean, we're dealing with track temperatures of 104 degrees Fahrenheit. That's very toasty. And remember here that this is a variable track surface. We're talking about multiple types of surfaces, whether it's concrete or asphalt coming on back and forth. So that can change things up a little bit here when we talk about it. And I think for a lot of these drivers, just keeping it on the black and white stuff is going to be the hardest part of the day.
Well, I've got a pair of facts for you, DJ, here. First and foremost, do you know who won this race last time we ran here, last season when we were at Sebring in the series? Do you know who won?
I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, so you're going to have to remind me.
Well, I'll tell you that Michael Diaz won last season. I just checked, but you know who wasn't in the field when Michael Diaz won?
Pat Pelshaw.
Pat Pelshaw wasn't in the field when Michael Diaz won at Sebring last season, so he could take a little bit of glory from that, but he's still got to beat Pat at his own game, and he wasn't able to do that last season. He's got to do it today for the first time.
All right, so that's going to be the run here. That's going to be the rub. We'll have to see how he is able to handle everything. Gets his way on forward. Drivers working their way back down through the back half of the circuit, through one of the trickiest corners on the track, Jean Debienne, and down into Le Mans. They bring their way on through the fleet of Porsches and Acuras. No Cadillacs, no BMWs in the field here today.
And in LMP2, we can't forget about Nicholas Goen. Started on pole twice last season. Didn't win a race, though. Could this finally be the day that he converts things in LMP2? I don't believe no, I do believe he did start on pole. I just looked over. Nicholas Goen started on pole here last year in LMP2. Who won the race? Jack Hedgecox. There's all sorts of things that could happen today. And we'll see if history repeats itself or if things decide to change and get a little bit funky. We can only wait and see what Sebring brings, and we're about to see that in a couple of moments' time as the iRacing Porsche pace car pulls it down pit lane. Pat Pelshaw once again takes control of the field. Pat's on the throttle, the green flag is out, and we're going racing at Sebring yet again in the GTP LMP2 series.
All right, here we go, down into turn one. They try to sort themselves out. It is an absolute flurry from behind from the LMP2s as they all sort themselves out and try to get everything ready to go. And here they come down into turn one for the first time.
So Hornet's Nest, 3 wide into turn one. Look at Daniel Zeggers on the inside of Nicholas Goen at the bottom of your screen. Goen's wide on the exit of turn one. Hedgecox is trying to come through. It looks like they all made it. They all kept it pointed straight. But Zeggers later on the brakes coming into turn three. Has he been able to take the lead away from Nicholas Goen as he fires into the shot? Yes, he is. Goen's down to third. Goen's down to fourth. It has not been a good first lap for the pole sitter in LMP2.
No, it certainly has. A contact in the LMP and the GTP field as it looks like Ray and McDonald have had it coming together.
Oh dear, that is McDonald in the Piston Pirates orange Porsche. He gets going again just ahead of the LMP2 field. Trouble in the back of LMP2. Didn't see who that was spinning, but I think that was Matthew Falk. A little bit of trouble on the brakes. Chandler may have run into a little bit of trouble as well. Zach Hebert at the top of your screen, up a few spots in his Porsche and GTP. Not as much calamity as you might expect in Sebring. A little bit of trouble at the back of the field as the brakes were locked up. And just as I say that, I think Joshua Chinsky might have run into some trouble.
Yeah, I think he may have as well. A little bit of side-by-side here in the LMP2 field as there's a big blink coming around the corner. That's not what you want to see happen.
I think that may have been the trouble I was talking about. He has blinked back into the corporeal realm, but he's blinked back into a very dicey situation. He's got Doug Sorrentino right behind him in a very American flag-colored car. That is not an easy car to miss. And when you see that thing in your rearview mirrors, oh, he's not going to have to worry about it anymore as he's lost him. And the other Piston Pirates car, that's actually the same one, that's McDonald, off the road in the final quarter onto the back straight, and that is not going to cause him any more trouble as he gets going again. Daniel Harris down one spot. Dave Menino gets by him into turn one. Can Harris repay the favor into turn three, though? Who's going to be later on the brakes? The Porsche of Daniel Harris is, and he fights back to P6.
All right, he's back into P6 here at this point. We watch the GTP field working their way up on through. A little bit of a gap. That's Palacio trying to hold out side by side. Sorrentino and Wallace in the LMP2s.
Dicey stuff on the exit. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Wallace around the outside, later on the brakes. Blinks back into existence. Can't quite get it done, though, but around the outside in turn 5. hopping over the curb. He rejoins behind Matt Carroll, and that's going to be 2 spots down for Luke Wallace. Might be 3, as here comes Chip Michaels with a huge head of steam. He's going to find 2 LMP2 cars blocking the entirety of the grid, though, and he's not going to be able to find a way by. Aiden Young in trouble in GTP, out of the top 5, rejoins right ahead of one of the Acuras, and he's out of the top 5 after a good qualifying.
Oh, you hate to see that there for Aiden Young as he just falls down through the order here. But this battle continuing on in the LMP2s right now, as it looks like that's going to be able to be held on for the number 27 Luke Wallace. But Matt Carroll now looking to try to make the attack on him.
Matt Carroll had an excellent week last week in the Nordschleife, his first podium ever in the PRL. But he's got his work cut out for him to look forward. We've got Adam McDonald, I believe, with all of his trouble on lap 1. We'll wait and see what happened to him, because he didn't have the best first lap with the Porsches. Here's what happened: into the hairpin very late in the brakes, but maybe a bit too late.
Yep, he was going to miss that corner no matter what happened, I think. Just kept that out a little bit too long there. Lucky he was able to escape without too much damage, though.
Carroll and Michaels keep going down at the bottom of your screen. Here's what happened to Chandler and Falk. Oh, I don't think Chandler had anything to do with that. That was LMP2 locking up the rear brakes, as often happens into the hairpin at Sebring.
Yep, as often does happen. Very easy to be able to lock up the brakes here at this point. Aiden Young looking like he had a little bit of maybe coming together. Oh, dive down to the inside, and that took him right around.
That was with Ryan O'Connor. Hebert and Holly are having an absolute knockdown, drag-out battle here. Nothing's changed, but there was almost a little bit of contact through the hairpin. There may have actually been, and Nicholas Schwartz is behind this saying, you know what, this is good for you guys to keep battling. I want to stay in touch with you. I don't want my teammate Bradley Holly to get taken out, but I do kind of want to be closer to the top 10.
Yeah, kind of want to be closer to the top 10 and work his way up and on forward. Holly going to continue to lead here as they run, just trying to keep things together, I think. Let's see what's going to happen here for the rest of it as they continue to enter on, making their way down through Jean de Vienne into Le Mans right now. Holly going to carry a good line there. Looks like he's able to hold it out for now.
Mark Kalin is already out of the race, unfortunately. He says in our YouTube chat that he hates this track. Unfortunately, DJ, I think it may hate him back.
Yeah, I think there's no love lost there between the two of them if he's out of it this early. Unfortunate, though, to see Kalin out this early. He's one of 3 drivers that are listed as out. Here's a nice little battle. This is for the lead. Hedgecox, Sagers up for the top of LMP2.
The 2 titans of the series so far this season, 2 wins each. Could they potentially come to blows? Blake Ziti's certainly hoping so. I think the more realistic option is that we see an epic battle between these 2 guys. Hedgecock so close on the exit of the final corner. Does he fancy a look into turn 1, or is he thinking strategically right now? Is he saving a little bit of fuel? Judging by the full use of the draft, he is not saving anything. Peeks to the inside to turn 1. The door's not entirely open, though. Zegers hangs on, but Hedgecock is hungry, and he's going to be looking for the lead.
He's going to be looking for the lead. He has shown his nose. He has shown his hand here at this point. And Sagers is going to be knowing that Hedgecox is coming on like a train with a full head of steam. But look at this, closing in behind them. That's Ziti as well. And they've got to watch out Caleb Lehman not too far behind either.
And you can't forget about Nicholas Goen. It all went very wrong for him on lap 1. He's lost 3 seconds to our leader, Daniel Zegers, but he started on pole. He was faster than anybody in the LMP2 field by 0.3 of a second in qualifying. If he can start looking his way forward, we can't count him out for the podium or even the win. It is getting so crazy in GTP, though. We have to look back up here because Nicholas Schwartz has lost touch with his teammate Bradley Holly, and he has very much gained touch with Darian Roy, Ryan Skalny, Stephen Verity, and Ryan Reeves. It is a GTP train behind Nicholas Schwartz.
Yeah, it really and truly is here at this point. Everybody holding in behind as they run. Trying to see what they're able to do. Schwartz hoping to just be able to break away here at this point and get himself back up with Bradley Holly, but I don't think that's going to be on the cards for the minute. He's got to be looking at his rearview mirrors, then he's looking more ahead.
Stephen Verity in the chrome car. I do love that livery. I absolutely love that color. I love anything chrome and shiny, but speaking of liveries that I love, you've got the creamy green, the menthol blue of Nathan Bartley ahead of J.R. Williams now. Does hang on to that position, but J.R.'s been hungry, and you've got Aiden Young behind both of these guys as well after his little oopsie that took him out of the top 5. He's hungry to move forward. He is not going to be saving fuel. He's going to be looking for position the second he gets the opportunity.
Yeah, he's going to be fighting for it tooth and nail here at this point. Whoa!
There's the dive. He was looking for it. He was looking for it while totally disappeared, but Boris Ovando from the podium off the road in the hairpin, that looked rather bizarre. I do wonder if that was slightly technical. We'll have to wait and see for a replay there, but not to distract us from an excellent move from Aiden Young.
No, and Young here at this point, able to work his way forward. Ovando being listed as down into pit lane, looks like.
That was not technical. That was not a brake failure. That was clipping the grass on entry and absolutely destroying that Acura GTP.
Yeah, absolutely totaling that GTP here at this point. That is catastrophic damage.
I think we can write off that Acura ARX-06. Unfortunately, the Precision Racing Esports budget hopefully is big enough to cover those parts costs. Let's ride on board with Boris into the braking zone. Just that little bit too far over. That's inches onto the grass. That's not even a full wheel onto the grass, and it ends his race as soon as he realizes what he's done.
Yeah, I mean, just absolute millimeters, and that's the kind of distances that we're talking about here at Sebring. So very hard to be able to keep those together.
That's separated things out a little bit in GTP. Pelshaw now boasts a 2.5 lead, almost 2 seconds over Michael Diaz, 4 seconds over O'Connor, a 1.5 over Harris. The closest battles in this class are in the middle of the field. As always, these battles for the last spots in the top 10, the last spots in the top 15, they kick off as hot as anything else. And we've got Ryan Skalny here, but what I must say is a very, very beautiful livery as well. It's not a SimCity racing car, but it's very similarly painted. The Podium Hunters with their Dazzle camo, and they've got the shiniest car in the world, Stephen Verity, chasing him down.
Yes, they do. Verity trying to close up on him here at this point. Let's see if he's able to do anything. Verity's also got to be looking at his rearview mirror. Ryan Reeves only about 0.4 of a second behind him.
Isn't that beautiful, DJ? There's no sponsors, there's no logos, there's no design. They said, you know what? The car is going to be chrome, and we're going to put some black wings and strakes on it, and that's it.
You know, it reminds me of a couple, it's so good to be able to say this again, a couple of old Indy cars that used to run at the Indianapolis 500 when they would roll up before sponsorship came around. Love to see that. Always good to see that kind of underdog mentality from cars like that.
It's like a silver arrow. It's like the old Mercedes, where it's like old racing liveries where they were like, you know what, we don't know what design is yet. We don't know what sponsors are yet. Your car is solid silver or solid red or solid blue, and you go out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you know, you can get into the whole of it all with Colin Chapman bringing in sponsorship, and up to that point, it was really based off of the nation's colors that were done. But nevertheless, very good to see.
I wonder what nation this would be for Matthew Falk. Unfortunately, it is a nation of hot tires and another spin for him. I think he's going to be thinking like Mark Kalin right now. He's going to be thinking, can I please leave Sebring? I do not like this place. Unfortunately for him, he's got 34 minutes to keep it going around if he wants to finish this experience at Sebring.
Yeah, he's still got some time left to go here at this point, unfortunately, to get his way back through. But we'll see what he's able to do. We'll see if he's able to maybe climb back through the field here before everything's said and done.
Zegers and Hedgecox haven't left each other. They're a little bit more separated than they were before. No peek to the inside into turn one for Hedgecox this time around. But critically, he is within draft range. He's putting the pressure onto Zegers. And this is a three-way battle because Blake Ziti hasn't lost either of these two guys. Zegers very, very wide out of turn 5 is going to open up the gap a little bit, but it's going to close down on the straight with the momentum from Hedgecox. I don't think we're going to see this cool down until the pit cycle comes around, DJ, because you can save fuel, you can go for an overtake, you can do anything if you're Jack Hedgecox right now, matching Daniel Zegers' speed.
Yeah, this is a game of chicken. This is a game of just trying to see who's going to blink first, I think, in all of this. And that's exactly what you love to be able to see when we talk about running like this.
Matt Carroll, not necessarily fighting for position here. He's got one of the Piston Pirates GTPs in front of him. I believe that's the damaged car of Adam McDonald. But Carroll does still have to fight with him. He's got to get by there. They're technically fighting for position on track, even though they are in two different classes. It's just that the damage from McDonald's car has unfortunately slowed down that GTP car to the speed of an LMP2 car. and that's going to be Matt Carroll a little bit frustrated through some of these corners.
Yeah, just going to be a little bit frustrated here at this point that he's not really able to get anything to go here at the moment. But let's wait and see if he's able to get anything to play here. Taking the draft down the long straightaway here, down the Ullman straight. See if he's able to get anything there at all.
Unfortunately, even with the most exciting color of a race car, highlighter yellow on that rear wing, couldn't make anything exciting happen there. Daniel Harris has had a good start to this race. Started P5, fell down to P6. He's now up to P4. That's positive. That's simple math there. And for Daniel Harris, he kind of needed that. Last time we were at Sebring, he didn't have a great day. He almost just threw it all away right as I said that. Actually, that was his teammate Aiden Young. Forgive me there. But for Fiercely Forward, they've got one car moving forward. They've got Aiden Young trying to do that as well, and he got a little bit scary there coming through turn 5.
Yeah, got a little bit sketchy coming through turn 5, but 427 right now of Young is going to find himself under pressure here from J.R. Williams, who's going to be putting that on to the back, just trying to see if he can get anything to play here at this point. We're going to continue to watch as now they come down the Ullman straight. This is going to be the prime opportunity here for Williams if he wants to try to get a run.
I don't think anything's going to be doing this time, unfortunately, though. That's what's so difficult about this, or at least that's one of the many things that's difficult about this track, DJ. That last corner onto the back straight, onto Ullman Boulevard, it's so high speed. The dirty air comes into the conversation. Missing the apex comes into the conversation. You want to take advantage of these two longest straights in the track, but they decided to put two of the most difficult corners to follow another car through in front of both of those straights.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that worked out. It's almost like they knew what they were doing and tried to make a track that was a little bit difficult to get things to play. But nevertheless, here they go. Getting their way on through. Looks like we've got a little bit of a replay here. Mulsev having a problem coming down into the hairpin.
Bump, 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 late brakes, little bit of grass. Good save though. Almost took out Doug Sorrentino there. A little bit too close for comfort. Actually, that's Michael Belair, his teammate. Lets Andrew Wood by as well. But it's a good save when you're too late. Oh, when he gets into the back of Andrew Wood, actually, it almost got worse. This replay might keep going. We don't know what more is going to happen, but now it is over. Now the nightmare's finally over for him.
All right, that's finally over there for him at that point. That could have gotten a little bit sketchy, a little bit scary, I think, for a lot of those drivers. But thankfully, they were able to get it and get it back onto the way that they wanted it to play. Here as we watch right now, and to see if there's going to be anything to play. Ray and Mintz trying to close down on one another.
And these are two drivers we haven't talked much about so far this season, but they've both done reasonable jobs. They've been finishing races. They've had speed at times. And right now, they're going to get a little bit of the highlight here. Nathan Ray in his first season in GTP and the PRL, if I'm not mistaken. Calvin Mayant as well, joining the fray. I think he was invited by potentially Daniel Harris. I believe that may be the connection. I'm not entirely sure, but it's Porsche versus Acura for P17. The Acura is going to win out so far. That is a Whataback Acura, by the way. You can barely see the logo on the rear wing, but that's yet another one of the Whataback squad.
All right. And there is a little bit of a battle here going on still for first place in the LMP2 field as Zegers and Hedgecox. This has no sign of stopping.
It doesn't, but is Hedgecox potentially saving a little bit of fuel? Is he hedging his bets for that pit stop? We've still got probably about 8 more minutes until we have to worry about that pit stop. He might be thinking about saving some fuel. Stephen Verity, though, for all the talk we've been given this beautiful, beautiful livery, he's run into trouble, and he is out of contention for the top 10. Nathan Bartley, Dave Menino, they're looking forward to the top 5. Here's what happened to Verity, though. Out of turn 5, does an excellent job of saving it, though.
Yeah, does a very good job of saving it, but just lost a little bit as he ran. It just couldn't exactly play out the way he wanted it to. Maybe a little bit of wheel spin there, and that was enough to just send him right around.
Dave Menino is a stalwart of the PRL. I think that's a good word to describe him. Yeah. I couldn't tell you when his first season was, but I have to imagine it's been 4 or 5 years. That's how long he's been around. He's been racing in F3 cars. He's been racing in these cars. He's been racing in GT3 cars, and he might be able to make a move around the outside of Daniel Harris into Sunset. I don't think it's going to happen just yet, though. Very, very wide, trying to set things up, and in the process, opening the door for Nathan Bartley to get to the inside. The run's not there for Bartley, though. He's actually going to open the door for Aiden Young to peek to the inside into turn 1.
Yeah, he is. Young's going to try to take that little bit of a look here at this point and see if he can get anything to play. They're going to be side by side coming through the corners.
It's not over. Bartley later on the brakes into turn 5. He's got a nose ahead, bullies Aiden Young over the curb and into turn 5. Bartley is going to hang on. A big slide from Dave Menino directly ahead. Is that going to bring both of these guys into the fray, into the hairpin? It's not going to bring Bartley close enough, but does Young fancy his chances? He peeks a nose to the inside. Bartley blocks it off.
Bartley blocks it off. Good defensive driving there from Nathan Bartley to be able to hold that at bay.
But this is not over. Bartley, an excellent exit. He's going to get to the inside of Dave Menino, actually. It's going to be P5 for him later on the brakes. Easily. Aiden Young takes advantage as well. Suddenly, Dave Menino's out of the top 5, and he's got his 2 teammates, J.R. Williams and Eric Palacio, right behind. They're pouncing. What is happening to Dave Menino?
Menino, maybe he overcooked his tires here a little bit, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Something's just not right with that car. He's weaving back and forth like he's got damage and he's trying to figure it out.
I wonder if it's something technical going on and he's trying to get feeling back because he is still struggling. Zach Hebert's coming up behind him and a whole train of others. Bradley Holly, Nicholas Schwartz. What is going to happen down the front straight here? Here comes Zach Hebert in the Porsche. Menino pulls to the inside, still trying to swerve a little bit to get things going. But this is a mystery. What is going on with Dave Menino? Hebert around the outside easily. Holly's going to swallow him up too.
Yeah, Holly's going to absolutely swallow him up here at this point. I don't know what's going on with him. This is absolutely crazy. I've never seen anything like this from him.
I wonder, did he maybe under-fuel the car for the first stint and he's coming in even earlier than he expected?
That's about the only logical thing that I could think of here at this point, Joey. Otherwise, I'm not really sure what would have happened.
That is strange, but that is possible with the open setups in this series. You can put as much fuel or as little fuel as you want in the car at the start of the race, and maybe Dave Menino thought, I'm going to split the race a little bit earlier. I'm going to put 20 minutes of fuel in for the first stint and then go 25 minutes to the end. Maybe he extended himself a little bit too far and is paying the price on pit lane. Nathan Bartley came in directly in front of him as well, so he might not be alone on this strategy, but he's certainly going to be paying the price. Lost almost 7 spots just trying to make it back to the pits there.
Yeah, lost a lot of position trying to make his way back through. That is not what he wants to have happen. He's now going to find himself far down through the order. We've got to hope that run there, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it was for him. We look at right now Nathan Ray, who's got a mirror full of Porsche.
Nathan, one of the many Canadians we see in the Precision Racing League. There you see Nathan. He's got the foam behind him. We still haven't figured out what he does for a day job, if he's doing voiceover, if he's recording music or doing something to need that acoustic foam behind him. But one of many Canadians. He considers most sport his home track. He's from just down the road in Kitchener, Ontario. It's good to see his face again. Good to see a new face.
Yeah, it always is. Good to have a new face to be able to come on here into the Precision Racing League. We always love to be able to see that and have as many drivers as possible. Join us here. Always encourage. Of course, if you are one of these drivers that hasn't really been a part of us before, join on in. If you're watching for the first time, the Precision Racing League is a great league to be a part of. We'd love for you to be a part of it too.
Exactly, and we do have the weekly carousel of entertainment where we take you through some of the cameras, and there's many more throughout the field that we'll take you to in a couple moments. But right now, Nathan Mon has a race of his own, the battle for P13. He's got Frankie Arvello doing a little bit of rallycross behind him. The recovering Eugene Maltsev's at the back of this train as well. Nathan Mon's day has gotten much, much more difficult now that he's got two very hungry LMP2 cars trying to steal 13th.
Yeah, trying to steal 13th away from him here at this point, but I'd be a little bit worried about Maltsev. Maltsev getting a really good run there out of Le Mans as they now carry down the Ullman Straight. That's the battle, I think. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough here to send him down into Sunset. That's a tricky proposition here in these cars, but watch for him coming down into turn 1.
I don't know. I think Nathan had such a good run through turn 15 and 16 that we could probably change the spelling and call it Le Mans. We might have to do that. He did so well through there. He's just gained ownership of the corner.
There you go. There you go.
You got to do something. When the guy's only got one syllable in his name, the opportunities are endless there. We got a couple more syllables in Pat Pelshaw's name, and he is down pit lane with his teammate Michael Diaz. Ryan O'Connor's going to follow both of them in as well. The Precision Racing Esports drivers say the optimal strategy is splitting the race directly in two. It looks like it's only going to be them, though, and a few stragglers behind.
Yeah, everybody else, Harris, Young, Palacio, they're all staying out here at this point.
Georgiev is in. You saw Nicholas Schwartz is in. J.R. Williams is in, but those are only a few stragglers. That is not the majority of the field, and you see Fiercely Forward. They're both out still. Daniel Harris now takes the lead of the race for if but a moment. Aiden Young behind him, Eric Palacio, Hebert, Roy. You go all the way down to the end of the top 10 in GTP. All drivers still staying out, trying to extend these windows. I don't know if there's going to be much gain by doing this, but they're just trying to minimize those final stops, maybe find a little bit of clean air that they can stay out of trouble. Ryan Chandler looks to have gotten into a little bit of trouble. That's still the damage from lap 1, I think, but he's not worried about it at all. Look how cool he is right now.
Yeah, looking very cool there. The 75 just working their way on through here at this point. Kicking up a little bit of dirt on the exit, on the entrance there into Jean Debienne. Or in the entrance there into Bishop, rather, as now he goes through Jean Debienne and down through Le Mans. Carries some good speed through there. Let's see what he's able to do. Oh, Mint with a big off.
Big trouble for Calvin. Don't see much damage on the left side of the car, but I imagine the right side is a different story, as he was very far off the track there, and this may be a big hit for Calvin Mayan today. I don't see much damage on the right side, actually, so he may have gotten away with it, but that was a big scare.
Yeah, that was a big scare there for him. Let's take a look. Oh, just too much speed coming through the corner, hopping the curb there at that point. That was very scary.
Big scary stuff. Speaking of scary stuff, Daniel Harris is down pit lane with Aiden Young and Eric Palacio and a few others. It's a very wide pit window, though. These guys come in one lap later than the others, and Hebert and Holly and Roy and Reeves and Ray, that's a lot of R words, they're all going to extend this for as long as possible.
Yeah, they're all going to come in here as long as they can. And you know what? I've got to say, I kind of like the strategy here, Joey. I mean, it's a good call. If you're out here, you're working your way around, you're in clean air, why not stay out? Why not push this as long as you can?
These are some tongue twisters up here in the top 6. Hebert and Holly, Roy and Reeves, Ray and Verity. I couldn't say that again any faster. That's like one of those vocal warm-ups you need to do.
Yeah, it is a little bit, isn't it?
Roy Ray, Reeves.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy.
That's a little bit of red. That's a little bit of red leather, yellow leather.
Yeah, or Peter Piper picked a pick of peppers there, as you got it. As here we've got another taker down in a pit lane, the number 18 of Joshua Chinsky.
That's the first taker in LMP2, or at least the first notable taker in LMP2. Zegger's still out there, Hedgecock's still out there, Ziti's still out there, but Chinsky says, I'm going off strategy here. I'm going to try and do something different. Matt Carroll behind him said exactly the same thing. How much further can these guys go, though? Hebert and Holly, these fuel tanks are only as big as they can physically be. You can put a little bit less fuel in to start the race like Menino might have done, but you can only go so far. Hebert staying out, though. Holly staying out with him as well. You're definitely not going to see these guys go to the end of the race. You're only going to see them go a couple of laps longer. But how much longer can they stretch this? How much can they shorten that final stop?
Yeah, that's going to be the question here. I mean, if they're able to save themselves a couple of seconds down pit lane, that could be a huge, huge break. Here's my concern, though. They're coming up on a little bit of LMP2 traffic. This is why I was going to be a little bit worried about them staying that long out. There was something that worried me even more there, DJ. If we can pull that camera back up for Bradley Holly, he's got no hands. There's a ghost driving the car. Got no hands. He got no hands. I mean, I think you can see like a wisp of his wheel, but that's very freaky. He's got it set up so he doesn't have his hands in the cockpit so he can see his own hands, but that looked a little bit like a ghost. I think Bradley Holly might be AI. That would explain so much of his dominance at different points in this race. Okay, we finally figured it out. Got it. That makes sense.
We finally figured it out. Bradley Holly is a robot, and that's why it hasn't gone so well for him the past couple of seasons. His software's been running out. We got to upgrade that. Zeggers and Hedgecox have found each other once again at the head of the field in LMP2, but they've got some friends up ahead. They've got a lapped LMP2 car for a company. That's John Leedy, who just came out of the pits after some hefty repairs, and I believe they've got Adam McDonald in the damaged GTP as well. This could get a little bit more spicy. Zeggers has some draft help on the straights, but he also might have some holdups in the corners.
Yeah, he very well might. So let's see how this is going to play. You know, there's a lot of questions here as you try to get your way through. Zeggers is going to be able to get a little bit of that help, but the dirty air is going to hurt him a little bit. And now they've got more cars coming up from behind there. Another Porsche moving their way on through. Oh, as there was a move to the inside for the 10 of Zeggers. That's not going to make any friends.
And I think that's the second of the Piston Pirates car behind these two. That's Grigor Georgiev. So that's going to be even more interesting, because that's not a damaged car. That's actually Nathan Ray in the Acura at the head of the train. He's running away, but Grigor Georgiev is going to want to pass these guys soon, and both of them are desperately wanting to pass John Leedy, who is not giving up. You saw Zeggers flash the lights to tell Leedy, you're not fighting with us, you're a lap down, please let us by. Leedy's not doing it yet, though, and through Le Mans, he's in the grass off the corner. That's going to hold up Zeggers, and it could give Jack Hedgecox a run here.
Yeah, it certainly could. The question's going to be is when they decide to come down into pit lane as a result of that. There we go. The movement down to the outside. The 12 moving out of the way. The Porsche down to the inside going to try to split the difference. Here comes Hedgecox.
Oh, that was almost contact. That was so close between Zeggers and Georgiev through the middle of the corner. Georgiev is going to win out here in the straight line. That Porsche so quick over the bumps in a straight line. But through the corners, is he going to be able to hold on? Is he going to be able to hold Zeggers back? I think he is now safe. But look at Hedgecox, second in LMP2. This is now actually the battle for position, and they're only separated by about a tenth and a half, as Hebert is going to get around one of the SRT cars. I think that's a little bit of trouble for the third car. I believe Eric Palacio in a little bit of trouble, but Zeggers and Hedgecox are still throwing everything at this. They're not done. And imagine how crazy it's going to get after the pit cycle's over.
Yeah, if this is the battle now, I cannot wait to see what it is. Let's take a look at the replay of exactly what happened to Palacio here, because it sounds like he had a pretty big issue.
To the inside of Bartley, and now to the outside of Bartley through the grass. Good save, though. It was unfortunately just a slow, awkward half spin, but it was a good save. He's able to keep going.
All right, able to keep going there. He's a little bit of a lucky boy with all of that, I will have to say. But at this point, we're going to have to see, as it looks like Holly's finally down into pit lane, giving the lead of the race back over to Pat Pelshaw.
And now we see the real gap at the head of the GTP field. 5 seconds now separate Pelshaw and Diaz. And Daniel Harris is going to be on the podium. A good run for him. Continues to get even better. He's up onto the podium ahead of Ryan O'Connor. This is really going to be the battle, though, between Zeggers and Hedgecox. Things are resolved in GTP. I don't think this is getting resolved anytime soon. Will this be the lap that we see both of these guys come into the pits? We only have one more corner to wait. Zeggers throws it in. Hedgecox throws it in. Is anybody going to take a hard right turn here and bring it into the pits? The answer is no for Zeggers. The answer is yes for Jack Hedgecox.
And I think this is a good call here for Hedgecox. If you can't get around him on the track, try to come in and get the jump in the pit lane cycle. That's a good way to play this. And it looks like the majority of the LMP2 field, Ziti, Lehman, Gowan, Sorrento, all coming on in.
Has Zeggers potentially done an oopsie here? Is he going to be able to make it all the way around? That could get a little bit dicey. Speaking of getting dicey, side by side, Aiden Young and Eric Palacio coming through the 90-degree corner. And that is going to be Aiden Young hanging on. But it is so hard to run side by side, especially when you're going through turn 10 there and then through the final sector. I think they're lucky to not be side by side, because that frequently ends in tears. Jack Hedgecox comes out of the pits fairly safely. He's 16 seconds behind Andrew Wood, as you see on the side of your screen. But we're going to have to wait until Zeggers comes into the pits in a couple more sectors time, basically. And that's going to be the tale of the battle for the win in LMP2.
Yeah, that's going to be the battle here at this point. We watch Aiden Young and this train of GTPs working their way down the back straightaway right now.
Young is streaking away. That thing is very, very fast in a straight line. Here is the aforementioned Daniel Zegers, though. Him and his teammate Andrew Wood are actually two of the only drivers who have been able to extend it that extra lap. Maybe that's tons of experience in the past coming into their favor, or maybe that's just some alternate strategy. We'll see what happens. Zegers still at full power. He's not run out of fuel, so he's definitely got the fuel to do this lap, but he may be stumbling coming into the pits. The real question, though, is going to be how much fuel has he been able to save? As you see at the top of your screen, that's Goen and Sorrentino battling live. The number to remember, Jack Hedgecock's 15.8 seconds in the box. Watch the ticker and see how long Zegers' time is.
All right, here comes Zegers down into pit lane. Going to try to make sure he stops on the mark. That's going to be the big key. He does. Here we go. As they're a little bit of a wide run for Hedgecock. Is that going to come up to bite him?
Was that pushing a little bit too hard on this outlap? Could that be the mistake that costs Hedgecock? Here comes the end of the pit stop for Zegers. It ticks up 14.8 seconds. That is a second faster in the box than Jack Hedgecock's. Is that going to be enough for Daniel Zegers to be able to hold on to the lead of this race? Hedgecock is coming across the line now. The gap comes down and down and down even more. It is going to be very close into turn one. Zegers is going to win the race off pit lane, but here comes Hedgecock with a full head of momentum, about a second and a half behind.
About a second and a half behind here at this point, but we know the pace that Jack Hedgecock has. Let's see if he is able to close this down in the final 11 minutes.
He's going to have to do that. He's only got about 7 laps left in this race if he wants to continue to be in this conversation. He was within draft range for the entirety of the first part of this race. He was within about 5/10, and now he's got to do the ultimate task of bringing the gap down to Daniel Zegers. These battles continue in the middle of the field. Dave Menno's trying to fight forward, but he's got to look backwards actually at Nicholas Schwartz, looking to take away P11 from him. Schwartz is wide through turn 1, isn't able to get to the inside to turn 3, and nothing's going to change there, but lots of things could change as there is some LMP2 traffic spicing things up and holding up Aiden Young.
Yep, holding up Aiden Young there a little bit. Is that going to be able to open up a little bit of an opportunity? Young dives down to the inside there of Big Bend. Menino looking for a little bit of an opportunity, but he's not going to get it. Schwartz is the one that's been caught on the wayside there.
That's the 14 of Eugene Maltsev getting passed, although not getting passed by Nicholas Schwartz as fast as he would like. Catches him at the wrong moment. Schwartz does finally get through, but that is not going to be the last car that these guys run into. It is going to be LMP2 traffic for the rest of the race in GTP. The battle for 4th is kicking off now. Pole sitter Nicholas Goen, he's just trying to recover as he tries to get by the googly-eyed boy Caleb Lehman. Doug Sorrentino thinks about making it 3 wide, and that's going to be Nicholas Goen up into P4. Let's see if Lehman can fight back, though.
All right, Lehman going to try to have a run, a little bit of a squiggle, and that's going to give him the position away.
Big squiggle there. Doug Sorrentino gets by. You wouldn't know that he just had an absolutely insane save and almost lost the entirety of that car because his facial expression didn't change at all.
No, it certainly didn't. That is what we call calm, cool, and collected.
And his eyes were wide open the whole time.
Well, yeah, that too.
What's that Carlos Sainz says? Don't blink?
I think so.
Don't do it. Can't do it, especially in that moment. But now he's got to recover, and now he's got to do the ultimate task of making sure you don't keep overheating the tires after you make one mistake and getting into that endless cycle. That's almost as difficult as not making the mistake in the first place. Hebert and Holly, they were going at it for the race lead in an alternate pit strategy. They've cycled back to their legitimate positions of 7th and 8th. Those are still 2 pretty good runs, though. Hebert up about 6 spots, I think, from his starting position. Bradley Holly up 1. These guys are both having the best days of the season so far.
Yeah, they really are. They're running absolutely fantastically here at this point. Really, really good results around a very difficult track here. We've got to give Bradley some mega credit for that.
And his previous best run of the season was 11th place at Daytona, so he's one-upping that. And it's good to see. Bradley's he's putting himself out there. He's trying to make some success at the highest level of road course racing in the PRL. And it's a challenge. He's good at racing on an oval. He's good at saving tires on an oval. But finding speed on a road course, that's a whole other challenge for him. And this is no MX-5 where he won many races. This is so much more of a challenge. And it is good to see him having to struggle a little bit. That's always fun.
know if fun's the right word there. Maybe as somebody who's competed against him like you more than a few times it is. But,
I like a little bit of masochism. I like seeing Bradley Holly suffer sometimes.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
After you're lucky you weren't there on Wednesday night, DJ, in the PRL Grand National Series at Chicagoland.
Yeah.
I was not having a good time. It was not pretty.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend, but what I am happy to see and what I am happy to hear is that we've got good action still all over this track as we keep our eye here on this battle in GTP.
Aiden Young has kind of been the main character of this race. I feel like we've seen more of him than we've seen of anybody else. But yet again, he's forced to battle. He's been fighting literally all day. He's probably not going to be happy that he's in P10 right now, considering he was in the top 5 in the initial stages of this race, but at least he hasn't been bored. He's been fighting with something all day, and he's about to be fighting with a little bit of lap traffic as Karsten Quint is the next car preparing to be lapped.
Yeah, Karsten Quint is the next one that he's going to have to deal with here at this point. And for a lot of these drivers, it is just so very careful to try to get your way on by. You don't want to be too aggressive in the way that you do it, and you've just got to hope that these other drivers around you are going to stay consistent as that gets a little bit hairy.
Ooh, it is not the best place in the world to catch the LMP2 car through the middle sector, through that 10, 11, 12, 13 section. Eventually, they do tear and wood, but he got a little bit off. That is Andrew Wood, by the way. 9 cars a little further back, but doesn't matter. Too young or to Palacio. They're through, and now they can move to lane GTP battle here through Virginia beyond Lamar. A little bit wide for Palacio. That's going to be the door open for Aiden Young.
Aiden Young's going to get that power down, coming down the Ullman straight. Here he comes. He's looking down to the inside, but he's going to have to be later on the binders if he wants this to work. Meanwhile, the teammate there behind in the Acura trying to sort this out. Menino trying to see what he is able to do, but Young has the line coming down through, but that's going to be Palacio carrying more momentum. Ho, ho, ho.
Trying to make it work almost oval style on the high top, but it does not work out for Eric Palacio. At long last, Aiden Young finally gets position, but Dave Menino's got to look back at Nicholas Schwartz. He's got to look forward at Eric Palacio. I don't know where you look, but either way, Dave Menino's up into the top 10, and Schwartz now looks to pounce on Palacio. Around the outside through turn 5, can he make it happen? He can't quite do it, and Palacio's going to hang on to P11 after losing 2 spots.
All right, my goodness gracious, that is how you get a battle to go here at Sebring.
Look at this. Speaking of getting a battle to go, Jack Hedgecox has done exactly what he needed to do. He's brought down a gap that was once separated by more than the draft range. He's now within draft range. He's within 0.7 of a second, and now his job of chasing down Zegers has become that little bit easier now that he's got the help of the draft.
All right, he's got the help of the draft here. Is that going to be any assistance to him? 0.7 of a second, the gap. They've got a little bit of GTP traffic at the form of the Acura there behind them. But for Hedgecox, he's got to know he's looking at 2-3 laps to make this work.
And I'm going to try and do some championship calculations here between these two, because Daniel Zegers, his drop week is going to be last week. He had a DNF at the Nordschleife, didn't finish, so that's going to be his drop week. He scored 0 points. Jack Hedgecox, he had his bad day in round 3 at Daytona, where he still scored 29 points, so that's going to be his drop week. That's going to be a lot of math, and I look forward to seeing the drop weeks counted with the algorithm this week, because that's going to make our lives much easier counting this championship. Luckily for us, we do still have battles on track, though, and those are the easiest things to call, because we can see them with our own eyes, and we can see that Nicholas Schwartz is very, very close to the back of Palacio, looks to the inside to turn 1, and might just look to the inside to turn 3.
Oh, there it goes as they try to get it side by side. It's going to be Palacio holding the advantage, but he goes wide. Schwartz has got the position.
Loses the momentum on the curb. Schwartz gets it through, and book Nicholas Schwartz up into P11. I don't think that's going to be the end of it, though. Look at Palacio fighting back in the draft. Peeks the nose to the inside to the hairpin. Does he really fancy his chances on the brakes? He does not. He's going to wait for a better opportunity. That gap in LMP2, by the way, it's ballooned once again. It's up over a second. Zegers has fought back now that Hedgecox has chased him down. there might not be enough time for Hedgecox to actually bring that down. As they cross the line this time, it's going to be 2 laps to go for both classes. If you want to make a move, you better start doing it quick.
Yeah, I think it is here at this point. You have got to go for it now. It is now or never time.
And look at that parking lot in front of these guys. There's LMP2s side by side. There's GTPs side by side. Bradley Holly's getting through Matt Carroll and Aiden Young. But Brad's got to look backwards, though, because he's got Aiden Young directly behind him now. You know Aiden is hungry. We know he's been making moves, and he definitely wants to take P8 from Holly. It's actually a promotion for him. Stephen Verity, just recently out of the race, promoted Bradley Holly up into P8.
Yeah, this would be...
He wants to hold on to that.
Bradley's best by a long shot. He wants to hold on to this by any means necessary.
He's got a very hungry Aiden Young behind him, and I do wonder, when you've got a driver who desperately wants to hold on to a position and you've got a driver who desperately wants to take it, those are 2 tickets to a final lap collision or maybe a final lap pass. We'll have to wait and see which one it is.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. 1 minute, 30 seconds left on the clock. Joey, this is it for all the marbles. Here we go.
And I got to check last season to see what Bradley Holly's best result ever in a GTP is, because I think it might have come in the final round, and it was P9. So right now, Bradley Holly is fighting for his best result ever in a GTP car. We'll see if he can hold on with Young behind. But once again, it's just like in the LMP3 and GT4 races earlier tonight. The leader has just checked out, been totally untouchable since lap 1. Pat Pelshaw is a GTP maestro right now, and he's boasting an 11-second lead over Michael Diaz. I can't tell you how impressive that is.
Yeah, it really is impressive that he has been able to do it here at this point. I mean, that is just the way he runs. Here we take a look at that battle for LMP2. I think he's just a little far back. It still doesn't look like he's got it.
He's going to get one more lap, though. Pat Pelshaw takes the white flag one more time around Sebring. He's going to have an easy day. He's going to have some easy goings. Might have to deal with some LMP2 traffic, but other than that, it's going to be a drive through the park for Pat Pelshaw. It's not going to be so easy, though, for Daniel Zeggers in the Precision Racing Esports LMP2, because look at Hedgecox, only half a second behind, loses a little bit through turn 1. Zeggers had a far better run through the first corner, but through the middle sector, it's all going to come down to see if Hedgecox can keep him within draft range.
All right, here they go, coming down through Big Bend right now. The gap holding at about 0.6 of a second. Hedgecox trying to push, but it could be too little too late.
Into the hairpin. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Hedgecox a little bit later, but not later enough. Still, 0.6 of a second separates these two. Hedgecox is going to be searching for every last bit of speed he has. He's going to be thinking back to his championship last season. He's going to be thinking about that level and thinking about what can he do to catch Daniel Zeggers. He brings it down to about 0.4 of a second. That's good stuff. He's got only a few more corners to go, though, until that almond straight to get him a chance to make that move into the final corner.
All right, here he goes. He is going to have to be looking at that here at this point. We also keep an eye here as there goes the battle in GTP. Look down to the inside, but that's not going to play out, and that's going to be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, this is the battle for Bradley Holly's best GTP finish ever. He's dealing with John Leedy in the LMP2 car in front and can't seem to find a way by. At the bottom of your screen, though, I think Daniel Zeggers has probably done enough onto the Ullman straight for the final time. He boasts a 12-second lead over, or a half a second lead over Jack Hedgecox. Pat Pelshaw's got the 12-second lead, and yet again, Pat Pelshaw wins in GTP, and he wins in his PRL Sebring debut. Out of the final corner, it's PRE yet again for Daniel Zeggers. He wins in LMP2. What a day to be in a silver car for Pat Pelshaw and Daniel Zeggers. It's going to be potentially a photo finish across the line in LMP2 with Goen and Ziti. Goen hangs on, actually ahead of Doug Sorrentino for P4. Crazy stuff there. And look at Bradley Holly across the line, P8 for him. Best finish ever for the all-time wins leader in the PRL. Somehow Bradley Holly is going to be celebrating in 8th place today.
Good run there for Bradley. You kind of love to see that there for him. Always a little bit happy to see that as they cross over the line here at this point. Couple of more drivers finishing on up.
It is absolutely an accomplishment to finish at Sebring after 45 minutes of racing. it's not really an endurance race. We're used to running 12 hours around Sebring, but after today, after the absolute chaos we saw, it might just have felt like an endurance race, and Daniel Zegers was certainly feeling that pressure with defending champion Jack Hedgecox hounding him all day long. He was still able to hold on. He withstood the pressure, and now with more wins than anybody in an LMP2 car this season, is he potentially the favorite over the defending champion now with 4 races to go?
Well, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he could be here at this point. I mean, he certainly has proven himself to be very, very strong and in good position.
Believe everybody's crossed the line now, so after 45 minutes of racing, I think we still, Karsten Quint has crossed the line. Thank you, Karsten. It's good to see the results now. Pat Pelshaw, 13 seconds of the line, not just 12. Once again, just shows up his teammates. Michael Diaz is going to be thinking, what do I have to do to beat this guy? Can I beat him at any track coming up in the near future? He's only got a few more chances to do it. Daniel Harris, though, he's going to be celebrating after starting a couple spots down, ends up on the podium. It was a drive forward for him, a drive fiercely forward for once. J.R. Williams finishes 4th. Ryan O'Connor ends up rounding out the top 5 ahead of his teammate Nathan Bartley. Hebert and Holly had quite a battle, and Holly finishes as his highest result in a GTP car ever by 1 position, ahead of Aiden Young, ahead of Dave Menino, who may have had some fuel troubles before his first pit stop. Schwartz and Palacio, Roy and Reeves and Ray, Skalny, Georgiev and Mayant rounded out the lead lap finishers in GTP. Adam McDonald had some trouble early, but still finished the race. A valiant effort for the Piston Pirates number 5. Stephen Verity ended up 2 laps down with some late damage as well. Boris Ovando and Mark Kalin both out very early. They make up the used car lot of some very damaged Acuras that are going to be difficult to resell. Daniel Zegers wins once again in LMP2 ahead of defending champion Jack Hedgecox. Was that a preview of the championship battle for the next 4 weeks? I think it was. Blake Ziti rounds out the podium ahead of Nicholas Goen, the pole sitter, and Doug Sorrentino almost stole 4th from Nick. Wasn't quite there. Needed 50 more thousandths to get that done. Chinsky, Lehman, Wallace, Michaels, and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air rounded out the top 10. Then P11 went to Andrew Wood, a drive forward for him after starting a little bit deeper in the field. And Carroll, Maltsev, Arvello, Mon, and Quint rounded out the lead lap finishers. Leedy ended up 1 lap down after some early trouble. And then the used car lot, Ryan Chandler, Matthew Falk, and Ed Vardanesian all ran into troubles very, very early. I don't believe Ed Vardanesian actually got off the grid in the first place, though, so we can't give him any credit for running into trouble early on. But we talked in the LMP3-GT4 challenge about how it feels routine at this point to be talking to certain drivers. It certainly feels like a routine now to be talking to Pat Pelshaw first, because yet again, Pat, you have just shown up the rest of the field. How? That's my only word. How do you keep doing it?
Practice, man. Last season, Sebring was it was a nightmare. It has been my worst race of the last season. But over probably close to 300 laps of practice this week, and just really worked on pace and consistency, and it pays off, it seems.
So are we gonna have to change your name now? You're not Patrick Pelshaw anymore. You're Practice Pelshaw.
Yeah. I'm a workaholic for that sort of stuff, man.
There we go. So you're getting more and more comfortable in this championship lead now. You literally haven't been beaten since race 1. But we go to Mugello next week, and that's going to be a little bit of a wild card. How are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling confident. We'll have a decent car, all the team, and good pace, and we'll try to win it again.
Well, Practice Pelshaw, congrats on yet another win, and we'll let you get to practicing before we see you next week.
Starting tomorrow, man.
There we go. There we go. Get scared, rest of the field. Pat Pelshaw's already practicing, but DJ Clark's going to talk to somebody who's probably very, very tired at this point. The most stressed guy in the field, Daniel Zegers, is here.
Daniel, you absolutely were under pressure for the entirety of that race, it seemed like. Talk to me about your emotions, my friend.
Yeah, fellas, let's go. Man, what a race. I've never watched a relative so close in my life during an entire race. First off, hats off to Jack. Great run. Man, I feel like we both ran mistake-free races, and we just could not find any separation.
I mean, it certainly looked that way for the both of us. You guys were just all over each other. I mean, so talk to me about how much you're doing driving looking ahead and how much you're doing having to check your rear view cameras.
Yeah, as I say, watching the relative, it's watching your mirrors, I guess, and then closer he gets, man, there was a one time there, well, a few times, man, where he was right there, and then I don't know if he got a bad exit out of a few corners where I didn't. I kind of got lucky and then had a sketchy run in with traffic. So watching ahead, we didn't run into much GTP traffic, but had the lapper in the LMP2 that got a little dicey. Avoided some things at the start. So yeah, all things considered, man, what a race.
What a race indeed. Headed though next time out to Mugello. Maybe a little bit of a wild card for some folks, considering the fact that, well, we've never run there before and it is a new circuit on iRacing. How do you take your chances there?
Yeah, I think exactly how you just described them. New circuit. Honestly, I need to purchase it yet, but no, looking forward to racing it. I think it's, from what I know about it, fast and flowy. I think it'll be great for these prototype cars. I think it'll be great racing. So yeah, looking forward to giving it a shot next week.
Well, we're looking forward to watching it, my friend. We can't wait to see you there, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Thanks, gentlemen, and big shout out, to the PRE esports. Shout out to you guys for helping out. And shout out to Billy and Kyle if they're still watching. So thanks again, fellas, for all you do. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and Joey, that was your victor there. Who have you caught up with now?
Let's go to the guy who was hounding him for so long first. We'll go to Mr. Jack Hedgecox. You are very, very familiar with the rear end of Daniel Zegers' car now. What more did you need to get by after those 45 minutes?
I don't know. A gust of wind, I guess. Shoot. I haven't been that close to someone's rear bumper for that longer race in a long time. I couldn't ever get a run on him. I think I only had like 1 or 2 chances throughout the whole race, and I couldn't. At those last 7 laps, I was hovering on incident limit, so I think unless he made a major mistake, I was pretty much consolidating second place there.
Well, things are going to be pretty close in the championship now, because after this week, drop weeks come into consideration. You're going to get to lose your Daytona. He's going to lose his DNF at the Nordschleife. How are you feeling about those final 4 rounds now that you guys are going to be on equal footing?
I definitely got to put in some time. I got to make sure to put in some laps because I knew he was going to be the one to beat tonight, and he got me tonight, so all I can do is get him next week.
Well, Jack, it was a good battle, and we'll see you at Mugello next week.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Jack Hedgecox rounding out the second place position. Let's go up to GTP to finish this one off. Let's go to Daniel Harris, and let's let DJ bring him into the booth.
All right, Daniel Harris, a good run there out for you on the day for Fiercely Ford, but it looked like you were involved in pretty much every battle we saw on the circuit.
Yeah, I don't know. I was really kind of in 2 minds on whether I quali, and then in the quali kind of sim that we all kind of do in practice, I had decent pace. Was pretty happy with P5, and I mean finishing P3 in the Porsche on a track where, Porsche has just not been dominant at all this season, and I'm loving how it drives, so I'm pretty happy with P3.
Well, pretty happy with P3 you've got to be. As we look ahead now to Mugello next time out, we've heard a lot of drivers say they don't know the circuit that well. How do you feel about it? I
love it. I drove it first week in the Ferrari GT3, and I drove it week before in the F3. I'm going to toot my own horn, and I've got the F3 world record race lap at Mugello as well, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh,
maybe not in the Porsche, but...
That sounds like a little bit of a gauntlet thrown there, my friend. All right, the rest of the field's going to have to watch out for you.
Yeah, maybe. I think they already do.
All right, well, Daniel Harris, clearly, may I say it there, Joey, the preemptive favorite going into next round of Mugello.
You never know. The Porsche might sandbag him a little bit, but we'll wait and see. And before we let you all go for tonight, we do have one more driver we get to talk to. It's always a privilege to talk to Mr. Blake Ziti, 3rd place in LMP2 today. But Blake, I do have to wonder, were you wondering with Jack and Daniel so close all race long, were you secretly wishing a little bit for that relative to get a little bit closer and them to come together?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. They had a great pace there in the second half of the race. I figured if I could just stay in the race, anything could happen. But they were really just putting it on me there. I really didn't have anything for them.
But next week we go to the grand wild card. We've talked to everybody about Mugello so far. How do you feel about it? Have you tested there so far? Are you confident?
I actually haven't run any laps yet, so we'll see during the week here, but I'm definitely going to put some time in.
Well, we can only wait and see. It would only be fitting for ZD to be successful at the Italian track.
Definitely be fitting for the name.
We'll get you back to your ancestral homeland. Congrats on the podium this week, and we'll see you there next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
Lake City rounding out the podium and rounding out the drivers we get to talk to today at Sebring. That was a crazy night. Suzuka with the LMP3s and GT4s, Sebring with the GTPs and LMP2s, and next week, DJ, we go to an ultimate question mark. We have never been here before in the PRL. We go to Mugello with the GTP and LMP2 series.
Yes, we do, and you heard a couple of the drivers say it here earlier tonight. Fast, flowing, that is the very nature of Mugello. This one is going to be really fascinating to watch, Joey.
Study up on your Italian, study up on your Tuscan geography, and we're going to have a lot of fun here. Monday night, same time, same place. We'll go to Barber in the LMP3 GT4 Challenge as well. It's going to be a ton of fun, as it always is in the PRL. This isn't the end of PRL action this week, by the way. The GT3 series with the Fixed Series and the Sprint Series are coming up tomorrow night. We hope you'll join us then. We hope you'll join us here next week. But until then, I've been Joey Tebben. DJ Clark has been DJ Clark. Our producer has been Dustin Ollis. And until we see you next time, so long.